platform. We need to make sure that we have the right settings, which I think we do.
Alright, Piers. I think
Hello.
it's all live and working now, hopefully.
I believe you're also coming through on my stream currently, just to let you know.
Ah.
Let me double check that. If you want to say some words at me.
Hello, 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 hello. We're going to do a stream together.
Let me change that one over quickly so people can hear conversation in the last dying moments before we switch over to the other view, where hopefully you will also hear the conversation. Are you configured on that okay?
Yeah, I think we should be Gucci. So, yeah.
And you're happy with the mix and all that good stuff?
Yeah, I think like I'm just peeking slightly into red. I think you are as well.
Cool. I think it's going to do the really clever thing where it just won't let me host you for some silly reason.
Oh no!
I'll figure that one out reasonably quickly. Can't hear him. Can hear him now. Okay, thank you, Nostaj. Yeah, I sort of get a visual indicator, but it doesn't always necessarily correspond to reality. All right, well now it's telling me that you're actually live, so I think I should be able to host you directly or raid you directly.
How exciting!
All right, let me just try refreshing that. That ought to do it. We will be with you interfrastically.
All right, while you sort that out,
it's showing up. It's happening. It's going. We're going now.
All right.
Welcome,
welcome, Intertubes. Where myself and the delightful Piers are going to be doing a standard play any deck event, which is preparatory for the future event coming up, which will allow a person to engage in prowess that will get you any card in the game. Piers, I have prepared. Actually, I'll go and screen share across to you in this in Discord just because it will make maybe life a little bit easier.
Sure.
There we go. Bam! Hopefully I won't mess up the screen too much.
Hooray.
So, I've prepared for your entertainment. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different decks. Some of which are from Channel Fireballs, some of which are the ones we made ourselves, and of course, Martin Juice's Phoenix deck. So, that's a lot of decks to fit into only 12 games. So, we'll have to figure out which ones we're going to play for more than one game. But yeah, that's what we're doing.
And I think that's one of the things that I'll probably be mostly helping is that we can sort of bounce ideas back and forth about what we think about what's working, what isn't working, what we want to change up.
So, alright, so we've got a choice. Which one are we going to go into with first? We've got a lot of different choices here, some of which are, I think there's a couple which are a bit similar to each other, like the Knights and the Aggro here, but I think they're mostly spread across different kinds.
Mm-hmm.
What are you feeling like?
I mean, I think it would be nice to start with one of our decks. And I personally felt that the Mono Black deck was the strongest of those. It's one of the ones that I have actually played, and it seemed to be quite good. Do we want to start by having a look at the actual list before we go in?
That's a good idea.
Our memories of what it's doing, how it's doing it, why it's doing it.
Yes. All right. So we are in a kind of 4 of territory, so it won't take us too long.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, we really go with 4.
And that probably suggests it's not a perfect version of the list.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I'd certainly looking at Carsten's recommendations. He reckons that if you're a really aggressive deck, which is more a little bit mid-rangey, but it does have some 1-drops, then you need 10 of the relevant land type for the castles to work. Ideally, you want 12 of them. We have 16, and the cottages are also swamps.
Yeah,
I think it'll be fine. And whilst I completely lied to us at the time about the idea that Witcher's Cottage and Murderous Rider is broken, because of course Rider shuffles itself to the bottom of the deck, all of the spells in our deck essentially are adventures. So Witcher's Cottage lets us get back, draw spells and interaction spells. Even though they say creature, you can put the adventure creature on top of the deck, and then you actually cast the adventure side. So it actually gets us a nice 2-for-1 a lot of the time. I think it will work well, but maybe we'll need to adjust it. But I'm reasonably confident that the curve will work out okay. Nostaj J says Mono Black is best mono. You're absolutely right. I love a Mono Black deck, and classically that was the iconic mono color because black is supposed to be the selfish color that doesn't want to cooperate with others.
I didn't know that. Alright, well let's talk through some of the practicalities how we're playing. So we've got Falmar Knights and Knights of the Evil Legion. Now hopefully these guys are coming out early on. Then we're dropping down Well, let's see. So, Order of Midnight can come down over, I think, relatively okay as an early just play for a 2/2 flyers. Like, it's alright.
Yeah, the game I ran with it, it was the cheapest thing in my hand. I played it on turn 2. It dealt 10 damage. I was delighted. I didn't care that I hadn't cast the adventure side first. It might be worth switching to the other view so we can see the curve while you're talking about it.
Yeah, yes. Alright, so our other game is our 1-drops, which we've got... Hey, Anch! We're doing some Magic the Gathering. So we've got our 1-drops to start us out. We've got ourselves some playable 2-drops, so we probably don't want to be playing the Black Lance Paragon early on. But, I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, if the board is empty, it can deal, 6 damage and then trade up with something. That's not the worst result of spending 2 mana.
Yeah. Beyond that, we've got... So this is kind of our meat is in the 3 mana section. So we've got Bell of the Brawl to pump up any knights we've managed to hold on to, or we've got them back with the Order of Midnight. Midnight Reaper to keep us healthy card-wise. It's got a decent stat line. The Murderous Rider will help clear the way, and the Icon of Ancestry will help refresh us, as well as pump up any of the stuff. So I think we're probably looking to somewhat hold on to some early things, just so we can get value out of Icon of Ancestry when it actually comes down.
How do you mean, sorry?
Well, if we trade all of our creatures across, then we get Icons of Ancestry, we're probably not going to have anything to do with them. Or Bell of the Brawls. Like, we need to have creatures out for any of this stuff to really mean anything.
That's true. I mean, more so with Bell of the Brawl, though, because Icon will just go and find more creatures to power up on its own. I did think maybe this deck is like 1 removal spell short. We did have a look to see if there was anything really exciting we'd like to play, and there just wasn't. The best removal spell in the format is already in the deck. But I could see Bells being trimmed down for some other interaction. But I think it's worth playing it as is first to see how they actually play in practice. But it did feel like the extra 3-drop was a little bit clunky.
It feels like the Bell of the Brawl probably needs to kind of at least get partially swapped out with stuff that's cheaper, just so that she actually kind of gets some value out of her effect anyway.
I think we have enough stuff ahead of time, like 16 cards. That's a quarter of the deck are things that come down before she does.
Well, so our top end is this Cavalier of Night. He's a big boy. He likes turning our creatures into cannons. He can throw at other people, and then he gets back basically everything else in our deck when they eventually die. I think it's pretty nice.
It's one of the reasons we haven't gone over 3 mana for anything else, although there aren't great incentives for doing that anyway.
Yes, and the giveaways haven't been in place for probably multiple years. No, not multiple years, probably about a year. And Haxor's been gone for quite a while, yes. So the other stuff we've got is the Castle, which is going to reward us for playing out our cards as fast as possible. And then just throw them onto the field and then get more cards to the castle. And the Witch's Cottage will let us get back, as you mentioned, all of our Adventure cards. Anyone who's watching who doesn't play Magic the Gathering, which I suspect may be more than one person, if anything, if you guys need any more explanation of what's going on, or just say. Otherwise, it's going to end up being very confusing.
I'm trying to get into a position where I can see all of the chats, so that I can potentially answer questions in chat as well if they don't get answered on stream.
And today I'm being joined by Piers8. You can find him at twitch.tv/Piers8. He's a gentleman I've worked with for a while. He's got very lustrous hair and a big beard. He's like Brian Blessed.
That's true. A random person accosted me yesterday whilst we were at the theatre to tell me at length how excited he was about my hair.
That was in the toilet. I know, because I was in the adjacent toilet.
It was well-meaning, though slightly uncomfortable.
Excellent. Speaking of slightly uncomfortable, let's get started with our first game of Throne of Eldraine?
Yes.
Eldraine? What's it called again?
Eldraine.
That's a silly name.
Am I chubby like Pete? I mean, I'm chubby.
Wow.
I don't know if I'd say I'm chubby like Pete.
That is, Anch. I remember Anch doing this before. It's not a kind thing to say, Anch. Not a kind thing. I was eating cake just before I came on the stream, so I can't really complain.
I think there's nothing wrong with being a little bit chubby. We don't need to be body shaming anyone.
Alright, so what do we got? So we've got a 1-drop, we've got a 2-drop, we've got a 3-drop, we've got another 3-drop, we've got 3 land. We could not be doing better with this opening. We won't. So we're probably going to get... Yeah, I think this is amazing.
Yeah.
For an opening hand.
Let's
keep it. So if we draw any more swamps, we get to use the Witch's Cottage untapped. But yeah, that's very, very likely. Cool.
Yeah. Let's do it. We're going first, so that's even better. We definitely want to run out the Swamp and the Foulmire Knight, I think. No reason to slow roll it for value. Like, we have so many ways of getting guard advantage. In hand, we have a Midnight Reaper and a Murderous Rider. The Rider will get us a 2-for-1. The Reaper is very likely to get us at least a 2-for-1 and might just draw us a huge pile of cards.
Alright, let's keep the good times a rolling. So, I think we probably just go for the Black Lance out here, don't we?
I think so. Like, again, you know, it might just run into a blocker, but it'll trade with the blocker. That's fine. And by the time it does that, we probably have a Midnight Reaper in play anyway. So it's going to trade with something and draw us a card.
So do we want to... I would assume we want to actually play it out now and give... Actually, the life link on that guy seems like it's...
The 1 extra life isn't worth a lot. I think the flashing it in at the end of their turn is worth slightly more because it just messes up their line of play. It's sort of down to you because obviously the Midnight Reaper and the Murderous Rider do lose life, so the 1 extra life is not nothing.
I think you're right. I'd rather kind of like at least kind of throw them off because if I don't play anything at all, they're going to think I'm going to be trying to remove whatever they're putting down. Whereas if I play out my thing here, like I'm giving up messing with them for just the cost of 1 life. Actually, it's Piers 8. Piers 8. Oh yes, no, Ange. So Piers, one thing Ange did well when he wasn't body shaming people was to come up. Have a very good memory for the different teams because there's a lot of teams. And remembering their history. So that's
I have
not
a garbage
great.
memory. So by all means, stop by and help me remember things. All right. Well, there's 0 chance of them blocking the Paragon with the Druid, so definitely we want to slam that down. Which is another reason to delay. It might be they'd have played like a 3-4 in some miraculous way that we just didn't want to run it into. All right. Unfortunately, we didn't hit a land. So that's 1 tick against the Witch's Cottage. We're still probably playing it because we've got so many 3-drops that we want to be able to hit 3 100% next turn. And missing out on the potential enter the battlefield ability doesn't really matter. We've got 2 Reapers now, so we'll be fine on cards. We just definitely slam everything into him. The best case scenario is he trades either of our creatures with the Druid, and it's just not going to happen. The Druid is bound to be very valuable to his list. Not sure what we're playing against yet. It might just be like a mid-range Golgari list. Garenbrig is pretty scary.
Oh, okay. So... Oh, that's right. That's the ramp spell in a land. Man, that's crazy.
Yeah. It functionally just taps for 2 mana. And it doesn't do it till a little bit later in the game. Ooh, we might want to kill that Hunter. He's not playing Hunter unless he's a hardcore food deck, and that thing's very powerful.
Yeah, I'm down with that. Let's nail it. So this is... that's right, Nose J. So if we cast them as an adventure, the left part of the card, they go into exile, and we can play them as a creature, which is the right part, which is amazing. So yeah, I'm totally down with let's get rid of
the other thing is, though, they do have a lot of other big scary things in green.
Yeah, screw it. We're here to get through games as fast as possible.
Oh, I see. I was not aware that was the game plan today.
Wow, we're going to do like 12 games before I fall asleep, which is not an easy thing to do.
We don't have to do all 12 games. It would be lovely if we did. But I think it would be better to get maximum value from the games we do play to best set you up for the challenge event next week than to play maximum number of them.
So we could, let's see. So we've got a less obvious thing to do here because they've got a creature that's big enough to kill any of our stuff. We could...
I think this is just Icon if we want to attack, because then he trades with either of our creatures. We could go for Bell and set up a bigger attack next turn, but if he's at 11, is he really going to want to take 6 damage here?
I guess we don't actually need to draw any more.
Next turn.
Yeah, we don't need to draw any more cards right now, really.
No, I don't think so. We just need to actually be applying pressure, and this enables a 6 damage attack instead of a 1 damage attack. So we get to hit them for more than half their life total.
Oh man, yeah, you're right. This is definitely feels like this is the right one because we get to the point now where they're very close to dead very early on.
Yeah, like they can maybe outvalue us in the long game, but it's still a maybe. We've got some crazy value cards, but they don't have time to mess around playing stuff like Once Upon a Time. They just can't spend half of their mana for their turn doing nothing to affect the board. They do have 2 mana open. I wouldn't be surprised if they had like a 2 mana creature to flash in, so you want to keep that in mind.
Could go for Midnight Reaper to try and...
I think it is. You just Reaper and then swing, and then, hey, even if they trade off, we're still ahead on that. We're not ahead on board, which is not the best, but they're making trades rather than just jump blocking stuff. Or sorry, rather than eating stuff, so I think we're still fine. And the Midnight Reaper's a pretty good threat on his own. As a 4-power creature here. And we might even hit another tome to make him even bigger and scarier. So Wolf's going to eat something, unfortunately. He didn't have the food token to make it indestructible, though.
That's a big difference.
Keep in mind that the one creature we have in play has Death Touch as well, so yeah, there's no block that they can make. Icon of Ancestry off the top, and we win!
Ooh.
For a deck with this much card draw, like, keep in mind that we've got 2 card draw cards in play and 1 in hand. We're applying a lot of pressure very fast.
Yep.
I'm
that works
liking this
pretty
list.
well.
I am liking it. I think it's a good starting point. Anxious. Anywho, it's 12:30 here. Gonna go to bed. Thank you for joining in. And yeah, stop by the stream sometime and have a look at the archive of this one.
Yeah. All right. So we found that Mono Black worked pretty well, but I figured we should probably run through each deck once and then come back to the ones that seem the most interesting.
Yeah, let's not just play 12 games of Mono Black. What do you like? What are you interested in? I made the suggestion last time. Also, yell out, if those of you watching at home, if you're looking at this and saying, what's Bant Wolves? I want to play Bant Wolves food or Red Black Aggro or whatever. Let's
go from the least complicated to the most complicated. And choose Martin Juice's Phoenix.
Oh, I see. You mean from least complicated being Mono Black to Phoenix being most complicated. Yeah, there's a lot of play options to get wrong there. Is it worth having a quick look at what the list is? Or do you feel that you're fresh enough? All right, well, I think I have a reasonable sense of what it's trying to do. I mean, it's not a new deck. It's just got some new toys.
All right, I meant to cancel, but yes. It went through without me, so whatever.
Do you know what the deck is trying to do?
Not really.
Just fill your graveyard with instants and drakes. Instants and phoenixes. So you absolutely cast Haggle every single time. So this is a strong keep, actually. Turn 1 Haggle, turn 2 Electromancer. You are in business.
Yep, no, this looks great. Alright, so there's no real reason to play out the... Well, I guess we're going to play the Steam Vents at some point.
We might be playing it tapped, though. We might be able to have
get away with
there.
it. Yes, we just hold off on it as long as we can.
Merchant is an instant, so no reason to do it yet. Let's wait till their end step. We don't have anything good to discard with it, unfortunately. So there's an argument that we don't play it. We could have played the Steam Vents tapped. Once Upon a Time, nice.
Oh yeah, that's right. They get it for free.
0 play.
Yep. So that's I'm not sure I'm a big fan of that idea, which is just like, here's some randomness for the game. Enjoy.
Well, it's actually sort of the opposite. It's to try to encourage best of 1 play, I think.
What? How does that encourage best of 1 play?
Well, it makes the decks more consistent. That's the idea.
Okay.
Because you have these 4 slots that are, for free, get either a creature or a land into your hand. So it means you are more likely to have a playable hand. I have a horrible feeling I might be a busted combo deck here. Do we even go for the merchant? It's discard then draw, not draw then discard. Is that right?
Correct.
We don't have a great target for discarding here. I think actually we're just going to pass.
I'm not sure about that because I feel like that if we delay any amount of time, we're going to get screwed.
Keep in mind we need to be able to cast 3 instants and sorceries on the same turn at some point. So these costing 1 mana means that we might be able to do that sooner rather than later. For the Phoenix, you have to cast 3 of them in the same turn to get it into play. Ooh, what's the exact text on Familiar? We might want to shock that.
So if we did... We can't shock and Electromancer.
I think it's probably just Electromancer, isn't it? Like, once they get the food going, they still go off. Shocking it doesn't actually deal with it at all.
No,
they might not be comboing with it. But if they're not, we probably win because it shouldn't be in the deck. Like, I think the only deck that Cauldron Familiar should be in is the one that's just sacrificing it to get a food, bringing it back, sacrificing it to get a food. That's not bad.
Wait, that doesn't even make sense though, because we effectively get that mana back by having an extra land in play anyway.
But we don't have the 2/2 we'll probably never put into combat anymore. That was a bad line. It's actually not entirely bad because we with the cost reduction, it's not the same as getting 1 extra mana because you can cost reduce on multiple cards in one turn.
So we could haggle away the shock at this point.
Yeah, I'm wondering about doing that or just casting it, which is better. We do want instants in the graveyard, so I think we do one or the other. Do we want to save the damage or do we want to dig deeper to something else to do?
Well, I mean, it does look like their deck is a sort of chip away at us, so I presume keeping our life as high as possible is worth something.
We will have a blocker next turn, though. I think we can just discard the shock. Because we're not killing the Cauldron Familiar permanently, you know? So this is the thing we want to discard and then cast 3 spells in the same turn. I think here we just play an untapped Steam Vents and drop Draco, get the 1/4 and draw a card.
Yeah. And
then on a later turn, we can cast the remaining Merchant to discard the Phoenix, and then hopefully we've found 2 other spells to cast to go with that.
Yeah, I like that the Drake as well has got a good amount of arse on it, so that it's gonna absorb a lot of aggro and then just turn out to be completely irrelevant.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Currently we. Oh, nice Thrill of Possibility. So that's going to make it very nice for us to make the Outplay Phoenix.
Good. So we're 1 spell short of putting the Phoenix into play. We might even hit that by just casting the stuff. But I think we want to play the Electromancer this turn so we can play the Thrill for 1 on a later turn. And then that allows us to cast the Merchant and the Veil as well.
Yeah.
If we play the Steam Vents untapped.
Yeah, I can play the Steam Vents untapped this turn.
Yeah, then we cast the Merchant and the Veil as a 2/3. Then we can activate its ability when we need to, if we need to.
Yes, I'm not at the point yet where I've kind of like really sort of processed that these guys have that extra bit of presence on the board. Because this has been amazing for our board presence.
Hasn't it? Oh, hey, Sally is now watching us on Facebook.
Hey, Sally. Also, for any of you guys who aren't aware, foxes are actually cats. It's been proven by science.
Well, I don't know. There was a pretty strong argument that they're dogs in the previous stream. What do you think, Sally? Are you team dog or team cat as far as foxes
Straight to the face.
Concerned? I actually already know your answer because we were completely unconnectedly discussing this yesterday.
Alright, Once Upon a Time. So this is like the dig for dinosaurs spell, isn't it? But just has an extra effect to make it better.
Yeah, so the Dino one costs 1, but is not an instant. Alright, second Sea Drake's not bad. I think that might honestly be the play. And then that can dig us deeper, hit that 3rd spell. If we just hit a bunch of land, we probably cast the Thrill and the other discard next turn.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, because we're looking to get to the point where we'll use the Merchant to discard it, which will be 1, the Thrill of Possibility to get rid of something else, and then we'll probably draw something else at that point.
Yeah.
Alright, let's do it!
Of course, the reason we really want to discard the Phoenix is it means that we're not actually down a card from the discard.
Do we want to be throwing more land in, or do we want to keep it as a potential discard?
I mean, you can discard it, but we might find that we just get choked on mana. I think we hold it for now because we do need a second thing to discard. So if we drew a second land, we'd probably be discarding that next turn. I think you're right. I think we can hold it.
I think we're in a pretty good spot at the moment. So what are we going up against next? So tokens, what? Like, that doesn't seem like an obvious choice. Should we be throwing in the Merchant at this point?
Yes, I think so. So the tokens thing is because, and this is genius, and this is going into my deck now. Food are tokens. It's not token creatures. I can't believe I missed it. Yeah, that's going straight into my green food deck. I need to send you that list actually because it's pretty cool. But let me update it because
yeah, well, if you update it, you can always play on the stream.
No.
All right, let's do that.
Ooh, that's running very slowly. Why are you doing that?
Yeah, my arena seems to be not running the best either.
It's like really ground to a halt in the deck builder.
Oh, there we go. So that one of the drakes has already eaten a. And it's also putting stuff into our graveyard. Brilliant.
Yeah. I think there is a mill deck, by the way, which wants the Enter the God Eternal, so I just couldn't put the whole thing
together. Oh, wait, no,
earlier.
it's there. It was their deck, okay.
Oh, yeah, no, they get choice, don't they? What was that 2-drop? It was the uncommon 2-mana green creature from Core 2020, which is called Woodland Champion. So yeah, Woodland Champion is actually an obvious inclusion in the food deck now that I see it. My food deck, I think, is much stronger than their one, for what it's worth.
In retrospect, I now realise there wasn't any reason not to play the island, really. Because I think...
Maybe. I don't think we'd have had 2 land next turn. Sorry, I don't think we'd have had 3 land next turn, and we'd have discarded 1. Alright, so we can actually do the Phoenix this turn, because it's 5 mana to cast all of our spells, and we've got an island and an Arclight Phoenix to discard. So we actually might not have been able to do it unless we kept the island. I guess you lead off with the Discovery, because that just gives you additional cards in hand.
Yeah. Alright.
Remember, we want to surveil away any more Phoenixes we see. Do we think either of those are useful?
No, I don't think the Temple's really worthwhile, is it? Because we've got plenty of land.
Okay.
We could keep the Discovery just for more. I don't think the Dispersal works terribly well with the board they've got at the moment, because they've got something with no converted mana cost and something they want back in their hand. Like,
Discovery is better than a random card off the top of the deck, but it reduces our chance of hitting. I think we bottom this because we want to get the maximum chance of discarding a Phoenix. Yeah. So then we want to thrill discarding the Phoenix we have, and then hopefully we hit another Phoenix to discard with the Merchant. Right?
I don't know. I've kind of lost track of what I'm doing.
You did say specifically you wanted to go to the next most complicated deck. You've brought this upon yourself. I would go for the Opt, so that we have a chance of discarding another. Yeah. Oh, wait. We need to keep red mana open, so we need to play the island first.
Well, that's what you get.
But we're not too punished unless we draw a Phoenix here, which we didn't. So I guess you play the Steam Vents. I think I've messed this up for us, actually. I think we need to have the Phoenix in the graveyard 1 spell earlier. But try the Steam Vents and the Merchant and see if that works. And if not, then I've just completely ruined it for
untapped.
us. Yep.
Not too bad.
It'll take a second to reread it. Oh, no, yeah. It just hadn't come to play yet. Is there a reason that you didn't attack?
Probably because I ran out of time while I was waiting. The problem, what I've got into here is I've kind of surrendered my free will to just be like, I'm just gonna let Piers tell me what to do, and so I've completely lost my own sort of ability to follow what's going on in the game at all.
This is why I was just trying to puppet you through it very quickly, because I felt that if we had a discussion, you might get timed out on it.
That was true. All right, let's. I guess we're gonna dig for something, haven't we? Because this is not gonna do us any good.
We're a lot of damage behind now, unfortunately. This is the kind of deck where one turn's attack is
all right,
quite a big part of the plan.
Let's talk more talk about things that actually need to happen.
Do it. Get stuff to happen.
All right, let's just start discarding shit. I don't know what I'm doing anymore because you just sort of let go of the wheel.
I'm
I'm like,
discard anything.
What it is?
Okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Go for it.
What? You're confusing me.
I thought you were casting it as a creature.
All right, this is gonna get our big boy out, so I'm a big fan of this. I've literally no idea what I'm doing at this point, but I hope for the best. So this gets us enough, okay, and a thriller possibility We can hold off onto that, I suppose. That gives us a little...
I think so.
Yeah, that gives us a chance to make Cackling Drake this a little bit bigger. And also we can... We don't have anything to discard to make... If we had an instant to discard with it, that would be ideal. But we've got enough to... Should we go in with the Phoenix?
You should hit them before you time out and then think after combat.
Well, I've got to think about what I'm going to hit them with.
Go to combat right now and hit them with the Phoenix.
Alright, souls! I'm literally being, like... I am a meat puppet at this point. my critical thinking centers are shut down. I should have joined the army, honestly, because I'd be amazing at it. I'd just be like, I'll just do literally exactly what you said, and I won't think at all for myself. Alright, so we can. So I'm going to try and re-engage this. Alright, so what have we got? Oh, we've got a giant reach creature. Fantastic. It's not big yet, but it's going to be.
Kill them before it is, or just kill it. You might draw a shock.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, which is that we're kind of getting to the point where... so, do we trade off for the big boy here?
It's tempting, isn't it? I think you probably have to. I don't know, you're probably not bursting them down next turn, so I think you have to. Ideally, you'd look not to trade and then just kill them on the following turn, but because we missed... Like, I think the way this game actually played out is that we didn't miss that attack, and then we didn't make this block, and then they died next turn. If you want to think about how to analyze how the deck performed, yes, we have to block now because we got timed out because Arena has a timer. If that weren't the case, we'd be killing them next turn. As it is, we've probably just lost that Tyrant Scorn, but... That's fine. That happens.
Oh wells.
The exercise right now, bearing in mind that wins and losses don't count for anything, is to get an understanding of how the decks work. The deck would have won this game. Equally, it's got too many moving parts for you to feel confident with, because you won't be able to play it outside of this event until it counts. So do you think, unless you have it in your collection, which I don't think you have, when we had a look at the deck builder scene, I think there were quite a few missing parts.
I would be very surprised.
Do you think it is worth investing enough of your games in this event into mastering this deck to be playing it well enough to justify running it next weekend?
Probably not. Just
because I don't think I can play this deck perfectly yet. I would want to play like another 10 games with it.
Okay, so... Yeah, I don't really know what I'm doing here, though. I guess losing is probably the main thing.
I mean, that's definitely a part of it, yep. Yeah, I think you're probably casting Merchant, you're probably not activating it. I
guess I can Lava Coil the one.
Preserver. Can they do anything in response to save it? I don't think so.
No, they have to have a creature come in, which is very unlikely with the given mana they've got.
So I think you just hit him with everything and then chump block with the Merchant. Oh, the Electromancer entered this turn.
Yeah.
It's possible we chump block with the Electromancer instead then, because you have a lot of mana already.
I'm glad we got rid of the that guy.
Oof. Oko is real good and real easy to misplay.
Okay, so the Phoenix... All that really did was take Phoenix's flying away.
Mm-hmm.
Which is not the worst thing.
No.
In fact, it probably makes it easier for us to get it killed.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so we've actually got some good stuff going here.
Yeah, I'd hold the island in case you want to discard it to the Merchant.
Alright, let's opt.
I don't think Coil kills anything important. The important thing is the 8/8, isn't it?
Yeah.
You really want to hit Bounce, which I think is only in the sideboard for this list.
Hey, look, we got another one. Well, we can get rid of Woodland Champion, I suppose, before he starts becoming a thing.
Maybe.
I'd
see what you hit off the Merchant and then go from there.
Let's haggle!
Wait. What about the castle? Is that worth
right
activating first? Or is that too much?
Running out of time.
It's too much mana, isn't it? You're one short of doing it. unless you were to discard the coil. That might have been the right line, actually. Yeah. I think that was the line. Play the land, activate the castle, then activate merchant, discarding coil.
Alright, well, whatever's. Oh yeah, I don't know why Magic's running so badly.
I mean, I think it's probably just because it's busy. It's just been a rotation, which means that people are extra excited to play. It's the official launch, so people are extra excited to play. Throne, I think, is quite an anticipated set. I think it's just congested servers. I think they're probably, even though they've actually got really good sort of support for keeping the servers up when they get incredibly busy, I think it might even just be groaning under that a little bit. Which is good. Like, it's encouraging. If it's slowing to a crawl, it means that... well, it's actually not slowing to a crawl, but if it's slowing down, it means that it's been even more successful a launch than they anticipated.
Why is Cauldron Familiar not attacking, is my question.
I have absolutely no idea. I guess it's just so it can chump block to protect the Oko, maybe?
It's weird, because you presumably want him to... Alright, let's just...
Wait. Do you want to activate the castle first?
It's so expensive. It's like 5 mana to strike.
Opting and just hitting land is like, you've lost the game.
If I pay 5 mana just to look at 2 cards, and I don't have any mana to play anything worthwhile anyway, unless we've got something which is going to get rid of this immediately. I mean, is that even possible?
I don't think there's any bounce on the list. I think
also,
it's
we
correct
can't
to
possibly
activate the castle.
I'm going to go against that just because I want to be able to get the Phoenix back out to chump block with. If we do the castle, we're not going to be able to do that.
Well, your win condition is not chumping, it's getting 3 or 4 Phoenixes in play and hitting them with it. But you're not far off.
I'm glad I held onto that land. Ugh. Wait, no, we've still got another thing.
Scry-2'd. Yes, you do have more things you can do.
If we scry 2, we wouldn't have
I ditched the vents, by the way, because you may end up playing the other land this turn. There's no point taking the extra damage because you have the colours sorted already.
Yeah. Alright, much for the veil, don't let me down! And... oh, there's at least...
Scions is good. I think it might even be able to interact positively.
Alright, let's throw on the
no,
board.
it's only till end of turn. You still +1 because you might be able to ditch a Phoenix into the yard. Even though you won't get to keep the card in hand. Well, you're going to +1 either way. The draw a card, discard a card +1 is the one you want.
Alright.
That happened.
Sure. Well, at least we've got better draws because of this. Science!
Right.
Merchant of the Veil, you worked so hard. And now you're, I feel like we've just been delaying the inevitable on this game for a while.
Yeah. Unfortunately, like, missing that damage meant that it was probably just out of reach. Which happens, you know. Like, there's no reason not to keep playing, because the whole point is to see how well the deck actually functions. So the longer the game goes on, the more value you're getting, win or lose. I would be surprised if we can win this back. But what we're also, like, keep in mind, you're trying to learn about the decks in the format. You're learning about his deck being garbage at putting the game away. You know, if you can't put the game away quickly and effectively against a stalled out Phoenix deck, you shouldn't be playing that as a grindy long game deck, because you're just not winning the long game convincingly enough, quickly enough. And I think it's kind of obvious the choices that are being made here. Like, this is just a pile of loosely related Sultai cards. This hasn't got a very, very strong, clear plan A. The average card quality is not very consistent. So unfortunately, this doesn't necessarily teach us that a specific archetype is bad, because I just don't think this is going to be one of the sort of high-tier decks at all.
Yeah, no, you're right. Like, this just seems like a waste of time.
I think it confirms my theory, though, that the familiar is just garbage unless you're actually comboing it off. There is a card that you
Do I keep these
sacrifice.
silence here? Just sorry, before you get onto a
Sorry, probably. Yeah, because you have a Phoenix in hand, so you can discard it with the Scion and then.
Well, I
hopefully
can't
go off from
hold
there.
on to 8, 9, 10. I would die if I do that.
Oh, sorry, no. But either way, I think it's still correct.
I mean, at this point, it's literally just to see 1 or 2 more cards in case there's anything interesting. So yeah, well, I guess we've already like learned one thing, which is the that card which done this one. Where is it gone?
He does have Witch's Oven. He just doesn't have a way of untapping it,
Where was the guy who?
and he's not able to get those 2 cards into play consistently enough.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like a kind of goofy combo, which if I had, literally if the deck was doing anything, then man, look how long did that take for that actually.
It's a bit slow. Fresca and Oko looks really nice to me. Both of their abilities synergize quite strongly.
Yeah.
Like both of their regular abilities.
Well,
They're
yeah.
actually threatening 11 there, which is odd. They should just threaten lethal.
Yeah, this isn't actually making sense, did it? Because this is just going to result in us dying straight away.
Yep. Though our opponent might attack that instead, I guess. So yeah, I've made that change to the green food deck. Although it's not green, it's 3 color. So I'm now going to call it Tricolor.
Tricolor down economics. Alright, well we can look at our own deck. So yeah, this is not going to do anything for us at all. Use this, so goodbye. Not that we'll get to see those cards, whatever. I think you're right, there's a decent possibility that Mullis will be tempted to just punch us in the Planeswalker.
It would be a misplay, but it's in the range of things they might do.
Oh, that's the Witch's
Yeah,
Oven.
Oven plus Familiar is a combo, but you need a way to untap the Oven, and you need to be able to consistently get them both in play very reliably.
Is there a way of
I
doing
haven't
that then?
seen that. Not that I've seen. there is 1 or 2 ways. There are 1 or 2 ways of untapping the Cauldron, but either once per card or once per turn, which doesn't really help. Because
Yeah.
you need to be able to tap it 20 times in 1 turn.
Well,
There are cards in other formats that will do that. If we ever get Paradox Engine back, I'm going to play with that for sure. Would you like to see this Tricolor deck?
alright. If you give me the stuff, I can import it.
I'm getting the stuff.
I'm not importing it yet. Yeah, but
I'm not finding Discord. Oh, it's because I already had it open. I'm sending you the stuff. I
Yeah,
haven't
this
played
stuff.
this exact list. I've cut a couple of things that were a bit iffy from the list I played and replaced them with Forward and Champion, which seems busted, actually. I can't believe I didn't realise that.
Okay. I'm going to call it Tricolor
Tricolor.
because it involves food. Alright, we're going to try out the Tricolor deck.
Oh, you're going straight in blind. I appreciate your enthusiasm. It's basically it's all the good food makers and all the good food payoffs.
Alright, let's do it! Yeah!
Make food, spend food, be broken. That's the basic plan.
What? So this
So
is
for those who
all...
aren't aware, sorry, go.
I think we're about to say the same thing as each other. So it's going to be on the 5th of October, right? That the actual event's taking place, which this is a practice for.
I believe so. Let me double check that one for you. But yeah, for those of you who aren't aware, food is a new mechanic in the new set. It creates artifact tokens with the type food. They can be sacrificed to gain life, but they can also be sacrificed to power up other things, which is the primary use case here. With that Once Upon a Time, this is definitely a keep because that will get us our 3rd land if we need it. We also have a turn 1 Gilded Goose.
Oh yeah, that's amazing.
Into
Isn't it?
turn 2 Champion. Remember, you don't need to cast the Once Upon a Time until you're ready to cast something else. I'm just double checking the date on that. The event that we're warming up for is October 5th through to October 7th.
Yeah, so I'm going to be trying to get through as much of mine, I guess, on the 5th and maybe on the 6th as well. So we're using this once upon a time. We can use this all the way up until...
Not yet. Sorry.
We can use this... Well, I guess there's nothing holding us back from using this as per... I suppose we're waiting until we draw to see what we get, so we've got a bit more information to work
Exactly. That's exactly it. We might be getting a land, or we might say, oh, we've got the land already. So Gingerbread Crabbin, we really want to come into play untapped if possible, because it gets us a food for basically free. So we might still want another land here. We definitely want to go turn 1 Goose, though. So we will play the Once Upon a Time before casting Goose.
So yes, we've got 1, 2... So we've got 3 lands, effectively.
We're actually we've only got 1 forest so far, because Watery Grave is the only non-forest, so we probably aren't getting the cabin untapped, unfortunately. What do we like
that's right,
here?
I read it the wrong way around. Okay. We could get a second gingerbread cabin to allow us to get at least one of them untapped.
I guess so. I think you just want a second Wicked Wolf, actually. Like,
Yeah.
you can cast them with the mana you have available already, and they're just ridiculously powerful.
Okay, works for me. Let's do it.
We are short on food generation right now. Which is a bit of a
Goose!
downside, but hopefully we'll find our way there.
Alright, so we pooped out our first food. Yeah, I didn't actually know about the Gilded Goose. I think I somehow missed that. I was like, oh, that's how you generate food, right.
Yeah, there's a 0 mana, 1 mana, 2 mana, and 3 mana generator, all of which are good. And then a slightly less good 2 mana generator as well.
Okay, so
we need to make a choice. Are we playing champion or hunter this turn? I think we want to keep the food to be able to cast or power up the wolves. So I'd be looking at hunter or champion here. Given that we haven't got any other food generation, I probably would play Untapped Grave and cast champion. That way we can definitely cast the wolf.
Oh, right. Sorry, yeah. Sorry, when you said Untapped Grave, I was looking for a card called Untapped Grave. I was confused.
Sorry. Watery Grave. I mean, the fact we have no other food generation does mean that playing the champion is slightly less exciting, but on an empty board, why would we not play our 2-power creature? Pardon me. Of course, Savvy Hunter does generate food when it attacks and blocks, doesn't it?
Yes. Though it's a little slow.
Yeah. We might not get through with it, or they might blow it up. Okay, Castle Garenbrig, rather. Makes me kind of want to just play out the Savvy Hunter here.
Yeah, I think that's
Again,
fine.
we can keep the food for now, because we do want to feed it to the wolf, ideally. And we don't want to cast a 3/3 wolf to fight nothing when we can cast a 3/3 Savvy Hunter to generate food.
Yeah, works for me. Alright, let's just bang all this stuff out. I know this is theoretically out of order, but whatevs.
Oh, yeah. I think it's a terrible idea against that mana combination, because he probably is holding removal, so he probably will kill your hunter rather than your woodland champion. As far as making that technically incorrect play goes, I think you're actually going to get punished for it here.
I hope so.
Yep.
I can live with it. I've got another one.
It's sort of forgivable if you definitely don't do it when it's wrong to do it when they're tapped out. But that can be habit forming.
Yeah, I know. It's a very bad habit to get into.
It's a very bad habit to get into.
But I think
Do as I say, not as Pete does. Sorry?
Well, I'm trying to wrench my own brain back into so I'm actually engaging this rather than just literally just being puppeted.
Yes, I think that's a wise idea. Does our cabin come into play untapped yet? Is it
Forest,
3?
not a forest. Does it count
Yeah.
itself as a forest?
I don't believe so.
Oh no, it does.
3 or more others. No, 3 or more other forests.
Oh, okay.
So 1 more will get it into play untapped. If we have nothing to cast with it, it might be worth holding it just for the food.
Alright, well, that's not ideal, but whatever. There's nothing we can do with this.
It's just our 2-drop. They've traded a lot of loyalty to kill it. Wolf can only fight creatures, I believe.
Yes, that's what I was just checking.
Actually is a fight, isn't it? Ooh, okay.
Alright, we can goose it up.
Yeah. I kind of like Hunter, then Goose.
Yeah.
Because then you actually have somewhere to put the food if you find value for it. Again, like the Wicked Wolf is a lot more valuable when they have a creature in play that you can kill with it. Otherwise, you're making a 3/3 that's just more expensive. I wish the Gilded Goose had power. I know there's a reason it doesn't. It does feel like we've not been getting crazy value out of it. As yet.
Oh man, so we miss out. I think do we just have to? Well, we think is we've got enough to play our Wicked Wolves at this point. Do we actually play the Gingerbread Cabin, or do we hold off on it?
Well, we can make 6 mana next turn. On the flip side, the Hunter does allow us to generate additional food, as do the geese. So maybe the extra food is not worth saving the cabin for.
So
I honestly don't know. I mean, this is what we're here to figure out, by playing now. Remember that the Hunter can just do his draw at instant speed, so if they're going to blow it up, it's probably correct to draw in response.
Yes, well, the Wicked Wolves, I suppose, by themselves, they're going to turn them from 3/3 till 4/4 Hunters and also make them, kill... I presume... So we're not ever going to get to the point, are we, where we could truck out 2 of these wolves, realistically. But...
We're only 1 land away from it. We've got 7 Marder in play if we don't sack any food. They might go for a destroy food here. They won't. Okay.
Yeah, there we go. We've actually got a decent creature for this, so we can Wicked Wolf it.
So we don't want to sack any food here because we need to sack one to the wolf to make sure it's indestructible. So
okay, I think if they're sacking off land, they're probably pretty much done.
It might just be that they have a very, very low curve, but that seems unlikely. Or they're flooded with land, but then they would have more land in play, so yeah, it probably bodes well. Ooh. Can we do Oko and Wicked Wolf? We can. If we do it that way round. We have to make a food with the Oko. That way we can have 2 food, 1 for each for the geese to make 4 mana, and then we have 1 additional food to make the wolf indestructible.
Okay, if you're saying this works, I'll take your word for it.
I say it works. You play the Oko, you plus him, then you play the wolf, targeting the knight. In response to the fight, you activate the wolf's ability to make it indestructible, sacrificing the final food. Then you swing, you kill his walker, you make some more food, you build a ridiculous board state with a walker that's threatening to take over the game, and then they're probably pretty much done if they don't have some sort of wipe to clean everything up with.
Okay, so we're using the goose, we're using the goose to get the mana. Oh, there we go.
What are they going to kill, though? Does that mess us up? What are they targeting?
It's kind of hard to see.
I think it's Oko, isn't it?
I think it must be Oko.
Which is like... I mean, Oko's great, but it doesn't actually really change much.
Yeah.
Now it only costs you 1 food. You're up a food. Bargain.
So, let's...
I haven't actually had a chance to do this yet. I was wondering how arduous it is at the moment. It's not too bad. I suspect it will get cleaned up to be a little bit less clunky in the future. So you are having to do a lot of clicks to make that mana. So make sure you respond to this ability to...
Yeah, so if you look at the patch notes for this one, this Wicked Wolf has been special exception to always hold priority.
Interesting. That's
but
good.
They said that you'd have to do full control mode to get that same kind of effect from anyone else.
Yes, I wondered if that would be the case, because it is clunky having to go full control just to activate that ability as intended.
Yeah, that's I do think that's really dumb. Like, I don't know if they could just make it an option somewhere to just be like, I feel like for new players it's so much better than having to fiddle about with an arcane part of the game just to be able to use a card how you'd expect it needs to be used.
Yeah.
Wow, they are really loving giving us extra stuff, huh?
Do you activate in response there? I think you do, because the geese can make more food, right?
Yeah, they can poop out food at will.
And they're giving us more mana to do that with. I don't think you even have to tap the geese to make food, do you? It's just as much as you can pump in it. Wow. That's a slight concern, is if someone builds the super punish you for having not enough basic stack.
So what's that?
There's a deck you can build that really punishes people for not playing enough basic land. And this deck's only playing 4.
Okay, so we've got our castle, which is just gonna... I'm not sure Castle Garenbrig's really doing a huge amount for this deck.
There's a 6-drop. So getting
is
that
why?
down on like turn 4 can be really busted.
Alright, that's Once Upon a Time. So, I
think so. I mean, we haven't drawn it, so it's not doing much for us in this game, but I think it will be correct. Feasting Troll King is the one. It's very hard to deal with once it's in play. They have to exile it.
So if we use the... Oh.
Yep. That'll do it.
That wasn't a tremendously useful thing because, yeah, we had opponents that just didn't really do anything and then they died.
Their deck seemed okay. It was stuffed full of answers and powerful cards. We just beat it. What did you think? Did that feel like vaguely what you think Food should be doing in the format? Do you think that is a good thing to be doing generally?
I think that was fine. It wasn't like...
Do you want to take a look at the list?
Alright.
Sorry.
It wasn't kind of like... It didn't blow me away. But it was like, this is decent. Like, this is a combo deck that's kind of... You know, it's not... I suppose we're probably on this mode, don't we? Is there a way to full screen the deck?
Nope. There is not.
Alright, so we start off with Gilded Gooses. We've got 4 of them, so we want to get them into the Woodland Champions. Or Once Upon a Times. Trail of Crumbs? We didn't actually get that, did we?
Trail of Crumbs. This was the point where I said, oh, I need to make this deck then. I'd been looking at the food and thinking, you know, I feel like there is a not combo version of this deck that's just value and green, but it just really needs a good 2-mana food generator, and there just isn't one. And then as I was building a different deck, I suddenly caught this card out the corner of my eye that I'd never seen before. My goodness, Trail of Crumbs is exciting.
That is pretty crazy.
So it's 2 mana to get a food token. Then anytime you sack a food for any reason, like using it as a resource in the normal course of play, you can pay 1 to draw a card.
Yeah.
That's
and
nuts.
It's well,
That's
you
so
you scry 1, draw a card as well.
Yeah. So powerful.
It's very nice. I know Golden Egg is like the thing people are sort of presenting as like the premium food generator, or at least amongst the premium food generators.
Yeah, so the original list that I played, I had a full set of 4 eggs, a full set of 4 Once Upon a Times, and 0 copies of Woodland Champion, because I completely spaced on Champion. But Champion is definitely better than Golden Egg. And whether you play 3 or 4 Once Upon a Times is a bit iffy. It is a bit deck dependent. I think this probably is a deck that wants 3 Once Upon a Times and 1 egg rather than 4 Once Upon a Times, given that it doesn't really want to stumble over on having to cast Once Upon a Time for mana too often. But it does kind of like the fixing and the velocity from the egg.
Okay, so yes, all of this stuff is get Woodland Champion out. We'll hold on to the early game while we get more value out of all our stuff, and then eventually it looks like we're building up towards just smashing people in the face with Troll Kings until they die.
I mean, it doesn't even have to be Troll Kings. You know, your Woodland Champions get huge. Your Giant Opportunities are huge. Your Wicked Wolves get huge. These are all just ridiculously large creatures for the stage of the game they come down in. And of course, Orko can just take over the game and grind out tons of value. The Savvy Hunter and the Once Upon a Time can just draw you ridiculous amount of cards. I think there's a lot of different avenues for winning, and they're all by sort of pointing in the same direction. And I think, you know, things like Giant Opportunity mean that there's adequate overlap of enablers and payoffs, that you should very rarely end up in the situation where you have all the food generation but nothing to do with it, or all of the stuff to do with it and nothing to enable it.
Okay, I like it. Yeah, it seems good. It's very straightforward, but I think you're right that I think Giant Opportunity does do a nice job of bridging between those two ideas. Yeah, so we've got...
Same with Wolf.
Yeah, I think the Wolf seems super busted. Like, super, super busted. Like, in terms of, for what it does, you know, getting you a 4/4 on the board for 4 that kills something. That kills basically anything, really. Or anything worth mentioning.
Which is pretty critical, because the deck does need removal. But, the fact that you have the 4 Wicked Wolves, the 4 Okos, you actually do have enough interaction while still having a ton of targets for things like Once Upon a Time, while still having enough density of food matters that you don't sputter out by drawing the wrong half of the deck.
Okay, I'd like to come back to Tree Color at some point. But let's go on to the next one. So, I chose last time. It's time for you to choose, Piers. Which one are we going to go
for? Let's play Red Black Knights.
Okay, there we go. So this is from channel Fireball.
I've never seen this list, by the way. Do you know who made it?
Let's do a little bit of research. So if you, I'll put the link to the channel Fireball article into the chat, just to make life a bit easier and stop everyone at home to do the same search I'm just doing now.
I know who made it. I've not got the article in front of me, but it was
Andrea
Mengucci, who is a very good brewer and a very good player in the Magic Pro League.
So let's see. I'm just going to go find. So we're doing Red Black Knights. So he believes you can't play 3 colors in your Knight deck.
I agree.
So blah blah blah. So every combination of Knights is very strong, but the one he liked the most was Rakdos, which he had a 7-3 record with. The power, he's really relying on the power of Fervent Champion. Let's just bring up the deck list so I can have illustrations while I was talking about. I'm a big visual guy. So power of Fervent Champion, which is our 1-drop here, which get first strike haste, has a little equip bonus, and also enables our extra creatures. Knight of the Ebon Legion, which is extremely good. And 4 Venerable Knight, which is... Are we looking at the right list?
Could be. I'm busy posting.
I think he's maybe just talking about... Oh, no, he's talking theoretically. So Venerable Knight is the white one. So we've got the 2 equip cards. We've got the Steel Claw Lance. Come on, Magic Gathering. There we go. The 2/2/2, very cheap for us to chuck onto creatures, which we can throw onto our first striker, we can throw onto our big boy, we can throw onto our Death Touch guy, and also Endercleave.
The really worthwhile thing there pointing out is that it is 0 mana to equip the champion. So you can be hitting with the 2/2 first, sorry, the 3/3 first striker on turn 2.
Yeah, that's pretty gross.
and you're not stacking up cards. It's not like you're putting an aura on there and you get blown out if they have removal. You still have the lance to re-equip for only 1 mana.
So let's talk a little bit. So apparently he's saying Smitten Swordmaster, which is this one here, has overperformed. So just go back in there.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it working more in a Rakdos list where you're just trying to kill them. Like with the mono black list, we're looking to be a little bit more mid-rangey and have the ability to outvalue people. Here, you need the reach a lot more. You're not trying to draw a load of cards to win in the late game. You're just trying to go bang, take 5 damage, you're dead. I think it does that quite well.
The point he makes here is to know with this deck when you finished trying to swing at them or when you're actually just trying to amass knights so you can smitten them to death.
Yep, I totally see that. That makes a lot of sense.
Let's see. So the concern that he's got here is that we're giving up on Bone Crusher Giant in order to play Smith and Swordmaster. He's not convinced that's the right move.
I mean, I played with building a Black-White Knights deck myself. I've been trying to go blind as much as possible, where I'm just like, I want to see what I think and then compare it with what other people think. My list, I thought it was really horrible trying to fit the Bone Crusher and the Murderous Rider in the same deck. It was just too clunky around the 3-drop slot. I needed to cut something. I couldn't figure out what to do. And I kind of knew I needed to cut the Bone Crusher, but just didn't want to because it felt like it was such a great value card. It might be actually you just don't need it enough, and something much more efficient and that suits the curve better is just a better choice.
Well, something... I'm just going to see if I can check what happened in this photo. Apparently, with this deck, he's managed to get turn 4 kills.
Yeah, that was during the streamer preview. So he's actually played these lists a couple of days ago on Arena against sort of other content producers. So these are all tested lists, and he was saying, I think he said already, this is the one he actually found to be the strongest of the ones he played. Obviously, it's a relatively small sample size, but he does have a pretty good insight into these things. So it's probably pretty close to the right list. And,
this
actually saying it's good. It's worth playing it.
Let's see. This isn't the best performing deck. It's the second best performing deck. The best performing deck we'll come to in a bit, which is the Rotting Register deck, which is the 7/6 3-cost that discards cards. I think apparently he's saying that's going to be a really format. He thinks at least that's going to be a really format defining card.
I've certainly heard people mention register for the format a few times. I've not really seen any lists though, so I'll definitely take a look at that while we're moving to
I guess we'll bring that in as our last one just for the highlight. So I guess it works pretty well with the Castle Lochthwain. In that it encourages you to have a smaller hand, or at least play out your cards as fast as possible. But yeah, I know it should be interesting. I think that the deck, I'm really excited to play the deck because it looks really cool. But for now, yeah, so we've got basically just wang all of our stuff at them as fast as possible, and then I think that's the big non-obvious thing is that we've got. Actually, no, I'm coming around on Stormfist Crusader in this kind of deck where we're trying to chew their life away. So this is accomplishing that at the same time as enabling our other strategies. So yeah, great.
Cool. Let's try.
Go. Hoorah! I do like this deck. Almost played the wrong deck there. That's the right one, isn't it? Yeah. Alright, let's do it. Yeah, I think this deck could be really good, but once we get to our highlight deck, I think that's probably just going to end up being the one we play because it looks like it's apparently the red-black aggro deck went 14-2.
Keep in mind though, people will have been experimenting a lot more then, so the more just straightforward, pure aggressive the deck is, the more disproportionately it will perform in that scenario where people are sort of playing unrefined lists, they're trying out weird, wacky strategies. Yes, it might be when it comes to the actual competition for prizes next week, people's lists will be a lot more refined. Especially if that list has done well, they might be coming equipped for it as well. So I'm not saying it won't be good, but it may be slightly less powerful at that point.
Okay, so this isn't perfect by any means, but it's okay. We've got a 1, we've got a 2, we've got a 3. Tournament Grounds is amazing for us. Let's cast anything we want. So I don't think we're going to get a better hand up mulligan. What do you reckon?
No, I think this is definitely better than a random 6-card hand for this list.
Yeah, it would be nice if we could get the knight in for like 3 straight away, but I think we'll be alright.
And this is why the Bone Crusher is actually not such a loss. It's like too many 3-drops really clunks things up a little bit for this list.
I don't think there's any circumstance under which we... Ooh, what's that about? That we want... We don't need to play the Tournament Grounds yet, do we? There's no disadvantage to holding them.
Maybe?
Let's find out.
I think I would play it in case we end up with... like, we might end up in a situation where we need to make black, red next turn, but we also need black this turn, and then we need triple red on the following turn or something weird like that. I know we don't have anything quite that casting cost, but it would be so upsetting to not be able to cast the card you want to next turn because you've only got 1 grounds in play.
Oh,
and there's no disadvantage to putting it into play.
Yeah, I see what you mean. No, that's fair enough. I think it's because you kind of like buried the lead there with what you're saying, where you're like talking around why it was way before getting to actually what the point was.
Well, I wasn't quite sure what the point was till I got
there. All right, so now we do actually have a question here. Is we could draw a card and lose life. I feel like getting stuff onto the board makes a big difference, but we could also start equipping. We could chuck out. We can't equip both lances. That seems a bit of a waste of time. I think
the question is, how much damage does Knight need to deal? I think it's 4 to trigger. Yeah, so I think if equipping Lance did that, we'd do that. Otherwise, I think it's just better to get the Reaper in play. We're just threatening more damage next turn. When there's an empty board, we just want to put as much power into play as fast as possible as we can. Get as many hits in before they have blockers as possible. And then, the only downside you can possibly have to that strategy is if your opponent plays a board wipe. They probably won't in this list, but Midnight Reaper protects you against that anyway.
Yeah, I love Reaper. He feels so deeply unfair. Oh, excellent. They're not going to do anything this turn. Alright, well, we're going to go off pretty huge, I suspect.
I think they're planning to do some pretty big things soon, though.
Okay, so we don't quite... I was hoping we would draw a land there to be able to get access to a second Lance. Yeah. But we can at least pump our Reaper up to 4 to get our Knight growing.
Well, the Knight will still do... There will be 4 damage even if you don't pump him, so he'll still get the counter. So I think it's just the second Reaper, honestly. And swing.
Yeah, I suppose that's fair. All right.
And then they're even more punished if they wipe the board. You draw 2 cards for every creature they kill. You're probably just winning the game if they wipe at this point.
Yes, I did forget that it wasn't just 4 damage from a particular creature. It was 4 damage at all.
It's easy to overlook because it's ridiculously powerful, even if that's not the case. So your brain just says, "Oh, it has to deal the damage itself."
Oh, hello.
Mm-hmm.
Can't be blocked by creatures of power 2 or less, so we could just kill it.
Yep, I like that plan, and then equip Lance and then smack them.
Whoops.
That's not the way. Yeah, you need the second black because it's an instant, not a night, when you cast it for Swift End.
Ah, so that's worth knowing. Oh, also, that's something from the patch is that I don't particularly like it. So the adventure part is surrounded with black, which is very much not an eye-catching colour. So, not a huge fan of that. Okay, yep. We could...
What are you equipping?
I kind of feel like maybe a Midnight Reaper, because I think the Knight's gonna... They're gonna probably prioritise killing the Knight anyway.
I think I'd buy that.
Yeah, I'd rather have, the equip if I can.
Oh, there is sort of an argument the other way in that, killing a Reaper means that we draw less cards, but I think they're at a point where actually they need to just kill the thing that's the biggest threat because they're on such a low life total. Which is, as you say, the Knight of the Even Legion.
I feel like there's going to be a lot of games like that with this deck. Even though that one sort of was a little trembly out of the gates, it still was very strong.
Yeah.
Alright, cool. So, there we go. That was Red Black Knights. It worked very well. That's kind of what we expected. So, I guess that's kind of on the list.
So, one again, we were talking about it a little bit before, is like, you only have so many games to practice the decks with. So the simplicity of the decks is valuable. How did you think that compared in terms of difficulty with the mono blacklist we had? Because they have their own difficult decisions to make in their own ways.
I do think it's very the whole thing's very front-loaded. You just kind of I don't know, because having not actually played against anyone who did anything yet, it's really hard to say whether or not that's how that would work. I
think most of the difficulty with the aggro deck though is the sequencing in terms of, okay, I need to play this land now, and then I need to play this creature instead of equipping this equipment and that sort of thing.
I don't know. I felt like it was... Yeah, I'd much rather have a lot more practice with it. I don't know why they restrict you to 12. It seems a little cruel. But...
Well, it's so the free-to-play players can't get incredibly perfectly tuned lists and all get 12 wins on the event.
I suppose that's true. Okay, so we've just did a Channel Fireball one, so I guess we should go and do one of our ones.
Yep, okay.
So we've got Mono Black, we've got Mono Black and Mono Red. I think those are our two remaining choices, aren't they?
We've played Mono Black. The Red White Knights and the Mono Red decks are the remaining builds.
Oh, that's right, yes.
In front of you that we built. I might have another one I put together. I'm not sure. I'll have a look at that while we do other games, though.
Okay, so what are you feeling?
Which would you like to play?
We've just done Knights, so I think Mono Red seems like a good shout. What do you reckon?
Okay. Yeah, do you want to double check that list, see if it is the one with the amendment or not?
Oh, that's true. Yes, it may not be.
It looks like it is. I'm still not sure this is quite the right version of that list, but the one of the best ways to find that out is to try playing it.
So, as a quick overview of this deck, it's a Ginger Brute deck. Now, that is a terrifying looking piece of art. You see, the animation they had for Thrones does not look like... The gingerbread person did not look like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're getting out our 1/1s. It's very simple to prove that we're getting the 1/1s. Then we're cavalcading of calamities, so we're poking them. Then we've got the Spitfire in the air. We got the Bone Crusher Giant to clear the field, skewer the critics, and yeah, we're just throwing out 1/1s, and then eventually we're cashing in with our Beardy Beard to finish the job, along with an Ember Cleave or several.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. I haven't actually got a built list for it, but the other deck that really we must try is some sort of Simic Flash deck. It's almost 100% certain that Simic Flash will be a relevant part of the format going forwards.
Okay. If you can find a list for it, yeah. I mean, that would be like you driving me to play it, because I wouldn't have any idea what I'm doing.
It's just like a regular deck. It's just it all happens on their turn instead of yours. That's basically it.
Alright. So I'm not... Like, again, it's difficult because I really want to be playing against a lot more decks, like other aggro decks and things, to know what this is going to be like. Because if the last person, they literally just didn't do anything and then they died.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there will be games like that.
A data point, isn't it?
I suppose, yeah, it's a valuable data point to know that if we go up against this slow deck, we'll just murder them. But how will we do if we actually have to start negotiating someone else's deck? I don't know. So
yeah.
This is good. We've got a haste 1/1. We've got a shock on turn 2. Yeah, I think it's right. We've even potentially got the yeah, we've got quite like
one more mountain and you get a free creature.
I do.
So
oh well, there we go. I do. All right, let's just bang out our stuff and start going. Rawr! So this was, I think, for this deck, this was the big bone of contention. Was the Dwarven Mine, because it's so difficult to get that effect off, and it's quite likely to come in tapped.
I think that at least in this build, we're short of ways of making random 1/1 tokens, and that is well worth having. Keep in mind that Stomp is an instant, so there's no commitment to cast anything this turn, unless you were going to cast Skewer and Shock and just go for the burn them out plan, but I don't think that's necessary. We might actually have too much burn in this list.
Quite possible. So yeah, I guess we could skewer them. But
I mean, even if you were going to, just wait till you've got the Spitfire in play, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to start throwing burn at their face, you might as well double it.
Alright, so they're going for an all-black deck, it looks like. But what are they going to do is the question. I don't feel like they're going to play a 2-health creature right now. Alright.
Sure. Okay.
Okay, so I guess we probably want to get rid of Shock because it's just the worst Bone Crusher Giant. And maybe
yeah, I mean, if they're not making any creatures, it's maybe just Shock and Skewer.
Yeah.
We want the land, the Torbran. I'm genuinely not doing that on purpose. And the Spitfire are very, very strong.
So this is probably going to come into play tapped. Do we Shock them here?
I think so, because it's relatively expensive and they've not played anything. Yes, we get extra value from doing it with the Spitfire. Alright, that's not bad.
Okay.
I think you just go Bone Crusher because there's nothing to block right now and we haven't got triggers to power up the Spitfire. Getting the 4-power creature in play right now seems better.
Yeah, I can get on board with that. So we're already burning down their life a little bit. And we can... Yeah, the Ginger Brute has, definitely paid for itself pretty damn well. We'll be getting the 1/1 off the Dwarven Mine, and then... Oh yeah, that's right. So we've got a pretty amazing turn next time. So we can bring out the Dwarven Mine, and then we start really hitting it for heavy damage.
Absolutely. Don't forget, the castle can be activated, I think, with only 4 land. You might want to double check that.
Yes.
So we may want to use that.
Okay.
Does Torbran let the giant trade with Regisaur? I believe it does.
Damage +2, yes.
So I just run that out and then smack him with the giant.
Oh wait.
Of course, the castle's not a... Alright, well, run out the Spitfire and then smack him with nothing.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, that's disappointing. Okay. Well, we'll let them toss a card, I suppose. But yeah, so this is the Rotting Regisaur. So, I mean, yeah, like, even if it's going to cost you multiple cards, if you actually want to get them in the graveyard, that makes a lot of sense. Though, probably not that particular one. That's a... What the hell are we playing against?
I mean, this is the problem, is people are just playing sort of, you know, brews that they've come up with themselves, which is what we're doing too, but it does mean they're not super highly refined lists, and obviously this weekend will be an opportunity for people to find out what those lists should be, so the decks will probably be more refined next weekend.
Alright, I think I'm going to chuck out Beard here, otherwise we'll waste...
Yeah, I don't think activating Castle is a good idea, and you can do that plus play the Brute anyway, so yeah, you definitely just chuck out Torbran.
I mean, it's awkward because now we don't have anything which we really particularly care to attack with. But I guess if we get a land next turn, we're in an alright spot. Because at least Torbran's going to be able to probably trade himself across to something else.
Yeah.
Oh, that's actually pretty good. Ideal. Alright. He can do that by himself, so should we just swing him in by himself?
I think you throw in the brute with an activation of its ability for 1 more damage, but yes. Remember, you can pay 1 to make it unblockable.
Oh, I forgot it was hasted, yes.
Uh-huh.
Wait, actually, if we put in our beard...
Which is legendary.
Oh, of course it is. Right. See, that's the part which I forgot about. I would have totally just thrown it in. Okay, so yep, let's make it unblockable.
So we may have too many Torbrins, as the second one is quite poor.
Well, I think they're going to probably try and get rid of him by hook or crook. But yeah, so there we go. That's really nice. I don't know if they've realised that's a really difficult block for them. So, oh, we probably should have been using the... Oh wait, we didn't have enough mana for that anyway. We needed 4. Okay, never mind. Okay, I'm sort of liking this. This feels like, against someone who's got board wipes like we've seen here, it does seem like it's a bit fragile.
Which is true of any red deck, to be fair, and we're doing okay considering.
I suppose the mines at least allows us to get more dudes out, but I'm still... This is where I was before, where I was like, I don't know if we're at the point where we're getting more dudes out. That we've already lost out on the ability to play. Did we? Did we lose out on the ability to play something because of Dwarven Mine?
No. I don't
think
so. We played a different thing.
Oof.
Our hand's going to be empty, so I don't think we need to chase down the Davriel. Although we might just kill it with the Bone Crusher Giant anyway.
I think maybe that's a mistake, because if we're just taking 2 damage each time off it, it's like, who cares? Like, we're not going to die.
Yeah, as long as we don't have cards in hand, it doesn't really matter. So,
and we can shock him in the face.
We can just go to the face with the Crusher. No reason to do that yet, because it's on the start of our turn. No, it's yeah. So I would wait till they activate it and do it in response.
Okay. I'm just gonna... Let's see this. Yeah, I'm just gonna activate this ability just in case.
It doesn't really cost you anything, but for reference, there aren't any black flash creatures that they'd be playing. Well, that's not true, actually. That's not true. I lied. There is the 3/1 Knight. There's no good reason to play it in this list, but they could conceivably be playing it.
Okay, so
this is where you want to shock the face. That way you get 1 loyalty off the Davriel for free.
Yes, I didn't think of it that way, but cool. Man, yeah, the Torbran is definitely pulling his weight here. I love that he's got 4 health on him. That's super nice. But yeah, I mean, this hasn't... Alright, well, there we go. So, we could play our castle... We could activate Castle Embereth here.
Yeah.
Does
Torbran enhance Bone Crusher Giants as damage, though? If a red source, yeah. So, Bone Crusher Giant's worth 4 to the face here. So I don't think there's any reason to activate, because if you just make Ginger Brute unblockable, swing with everything, they probably die anyway, but Ginger Brute plus Bone Crusher Giant to the face is 5 damage that they can't block.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So, I think we got to see a little bit of how this deck is going to play out, which is... I think we kind of do run... Possibly we'll run into problems in that if we got a bad hand, I could see us losing games, especially because we're playing best of ones.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of just mono red in a nutshell, though. Why are you not killing them? Oh, I see. We've already cast the shock side of it. All right, my mistake. I was also looking at this other list at the same time. I thought we could still burn to the face with it.
I think that's reasonable. So at least we've acknowledged that as a thing, is that it's pretty easy to not read the adventure cards correctly.
I seem to be quite good at failing to do that.
What do we get? Joust. Okay. Lame. All right, what's next?
Well, I think it's you want to try one of our Channel 5 lists, right?
All right, so we're going to save the best
Aggro
for
was the one
last.
you're very excited about.
Yes, we're going to save it for last. We could go for the food deck. We haven't done food for a while.
Yeah, I don't really know what the Bant Wolves food deck looks like.
Let me tell you the story of Bant food. All right, so here's a little story from about what we went with. So initially he was going for an Oko Thief of Crowns, you got here, and Dread Horde Invasion, which is, we saw that one before, we played against that one before, which is just like, you know, poop out extra zombies, and it sucked.
Yeah.
But apparently Gabriel Nassif posted a version of Golden Goose plus Oko together. I don't know why he didn't put those things together initially, but went back into it. So so yeah, there's a bit more going on with this. So this list got him 7-3. He messed around with it because he actually, even though Garruk cursed Huntsman, which is the guy who poops out wolves, or has instantly kill a creature and draw a card. Like, I guess he's quite popular, but he's also kind of expensive as well. He's 6. So he didn't like the Cursed Huntsman in the deck with this much removal, and he didn't want to splash for a 4th colour either, which in this case would have been black. So Garruk is great with synergy with Tolsamir, Friend to Wolves, which is a legendary that creates wolves, but just generally gives you an effect, which means that every time a wolf comes in, it fights an enemy creature, which is, of course, very nice. So Garruk who poops out 2 wolves at a time.
I have to say, I'm a bit sorry, I'm not a bit confused. I feel like this deck is a bit confused about whether it wants to be the food deck or the Wolves tribal deck. It might be that it's just sort of perfectly tuned to sort of sit in the middle there, but I think there's probably a better Wolves deck, and I think probably the food deck we're playing is better. I'm not sure what Golden Egg is doing over Trail of Crumbs. I guess they're not generating enough food for Trail of Crumbs to actually be very reliable. They're just not really a food deck, right? Because they've got Gilded Goose, Oko, Golden Egg, and Wicked Wolf. So it's quite a light theme. It feels like they're kind of, the food is just to make Gilded Goose work and make Wicked Wolf work.
Yes, I think it's a lot of it is also based around Questing Beast, which is one which I didn't see in yours, which is it's the Vigilance, Death Touch, Haste 4/4, which is somewhat unblockable. This
is not a food card or a wolf card. It's just ridiculously strong green creature. Which is, I mean, that's a pretty valid way to go. There's basically any green deck in the format needs to ask itself whether it should be playing Questing Beast or not. But that actually makes the seam wider between the sort of wolf stuff and the food stuff. That would be my concern is like, what happens if you draw just the food stuff, or if you draw like the payoffs for having wolves and the setups for food, or vice versa.
Yeah, well, I mean, the top end of the deck is wolves. So you've got the Night Pack.
Yeah.
Night Pack, Wicked Wolf, and Tolsamir, who poops out wolf. The Great Henge is one which we haven't really looked at so much yet.
Mm-hmm.
So that's super, super powerful. It gets discounted for however powerful a creature is, so it's going to be a discount of 4, so it's going to cost us 5. But it means that every creature we get gets us another card for our troubles. And
yes.
I think you're right. The food stuff is literally there to enable us to get the Wicked Wolf off more effectively.
It feels like they've just sort of seen Ambusher and Wolf and said, how can we find a deck that wants both of those? But I again, like Ambusher, I'd rather be playing Flash, you know? Like that's the whole reason Simic Flash exists, is to give Nightpack Ambusher sort of the strongest home possible. It feels like it might be clunky in this list in terms of, like, you might just not get to activate the second ability very much. At which point it kind of becomes a 4/4 Lord, which maybe isn't good enough when you're not playing very many wolves to actually play with it. Like, don't get me wrong, I think we should try it out. And, people who really know their stuff seem to think it works quite well. So I'm quite prepared to be entirely wrong.
So there's some extra bits about here. So he's saying that he wasn't a fan of Curious Pair, which isn't in this list at the moment. It's a 2 cost that you can use to create a food token or a vanilla 1/3 adventure. He wasn't a fan of that. Replace it with Golden Egg. I think fair. As we didn't use it I guess we didn't even get to use it at all, but it is some colour fixing for that 3rd colour.
Yeah, and Golden Egg over Trail of Crumbs does make sense here, because you're probably not actually sacking enough food to take advantage of Trail of Crumbs, whereas the Golden Egg, you're guaranteed to draw a card off of.
So if we look back at the Regisaur, which we were looking at before, that's 7 strength, 3 cost. It works extremely well with the Great Henge, because it
with what? Sorry,
Great Henge.
The Great Henge, yeah.
Because that's going to discount it right down to as cheap as it possibly could be.
Again, the food deck has a 7/7 for 3 as well. So it seems odd to be a food deck running Henge, but not the 7/7.
Yeah, I don't know. So he makes a point of, I think so. This whole thing confused me when I initially read it. Was remember the synergies between Wicked Wolf, Food Token, and Tolsimir Friends to Wolves is able to deal 4 damage to 2 creatures when it comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's right. So Tolsimir, his effect, allowing Wicked Wolf to, allowing any wolf that comes into play to fight something, doubles up with Wicked Wolf. So presumably you've already made Wicked Wolf invulnerable with a food token, so it's an invulnerable 4/4 that fights 2 different things.
I mean, that individually is a very powerful play. There's definitely individually strong things in here. I'm not sure it's going to be a coherent enough strategy, but I mean, let's play it and find out.
I do agree with you. It does feel a little bit like it's just kind of. By the way he writes about it, it doesn't fill me with confidence that he's like 100% behind what he's saying.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just in the sort of the early stages. Like, there are powerful things there to experiment with. This is not necessarily the correct way to sort of push those together to get the actual final list.
I think it's good experimenting though, like, because you're right. Like, if you're gonna, like, this looks okay. Yeah, we've got a bunch of early stuff, and we've got something to ramp into.
Is that turn 3 Tolsimir? I think it is.
Yeah, Gilded Goose. And then presumably Paradise Druid.
Yeah.
I like it.
The second Gilded Goose is looking a little bit redundant at the moment, but we might find things to do with it.
Yes. I guess
getting Tolsimir and Night Pack going is a pretty nice combo as well. Sorry.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, it's got to be Paradise Druid here, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see it being oppressive. Tolsimir plus Night Pack against other creature decks. Is it worth playing the other Goose now?
Oh, you mean using the food up to get the Goose?
Like, I legitimately don't know. I do know I'd want to get the Tolsimir out.
Yeah, so, alright, do we do... Can we get...
You can do it without the Temple Garden.
Yeah, okay.
Both of them tap for any colour. I think it's wanting you to click the Goose to confirm you want to sacrifice a permanent.
Yes.
That's the thing that I would just do without your sort of authorising it first.
There we go. Aru.
Mad value.
That does seem a pretty filth. Like, I mean, I kind of feel like that's almost the best trick that the deck's got, but it's a pretty good trick. I know it's not the best trick, but it's like it's.
Yeah, I mean the Tolsimir interactions are probably the strongest thing
it does.
I don't know what this does.
Choose one at random.
Oh yeah.
just poop out a random creature. Okay.
Yeah, so I think this is a go wide deck. I wouldn't be surprised to see it have the 4 mana sorcery that puts 2 1/1 tokens into play and then gives everything +2/+1 haste, or just other mass pump effects like that. So be aware that they might throw a lot of damage very fast.
Do you think we should get out the questing beast now?
Maybe, yeah. You want to get to a point where you're not casting anything after casting like Packet Ambusher, so you can get wolves out of it and just eat something every turn. So I think this turn you do want to play the goose because you're not going to attack with the druid anyway. Yeah. I mean, your board state is completely overwhelming against their deck. I'm not sure their deck is terrifically strong either way, though.
Well, that's the thing, because I'm quite low ranked in this. Like,
that doesn't actually have any bearing on it. It's just random pairings. Yeah, it's whoever's queuing up at that point in time. Rank only affects rank, if that makes sense. There is a sort of hidden MMR for some things, but I would be surprised if there is any for the event here today.
Alright, well that dumped out our one of our questing beasts at least.
I mean, it saved your Tolsimer, essentially.
True. So if Tolsimer, that's non-optional for the wolf to come in and fight something. So if I played... Oh, Nightpack Ambush is big enough. Okay, never mind. Yeah. I was to say, if I played Nightpack and it actually just died to... like, I'll be very upsetting.
Just a random token took him out.
Okay, so he's got 2, so he could potentially pump this, but...
I mean, I would wait till their turn anyway. It's got flash. I don't think there's any downside to waiting.
Well, if the problem is I can't actually swing in because he's a 3/1. Otherwise,
I suppose. Yeah.
I think I've got to.
It does buy you 5 extra damage this turn, actually.
Like, it's bad if it turns out to be that this... if he nails it out. Got lucky. And
sorry, I correct myself 6 extra damage this turn.
Going for throw the Paradise Druid in as well, I suppose.
Yeah.
Nothing else to do with it.
It has 2 power for a reason. I mean, this is what I was saying with the goose. Is like, you forget how valuable the 1 power is on Lana or Elf when you're not tapping it.
Hmm.
It does feel like Goose really wants to be in a deck that otherwise wants to be playing equipment anyway. So you can throw it on the 1 mana flyer.
Oh, yeah, I forgot it was flying.
Hmm.
Yeah, I bet that's probably not the only person who did that. Because it doesn't feel like the kind of creature that would have flying built into it.
Well, it's a food-themed, depowered version of a sort of classic card, which is an 0/1 flyer that just taps for any color of mana on its own, called Birds of Paradise. So, like, it doesn't feel intuitive, but because it's an iconic card, they feel comfortable doing it because enough people sort of recognize that sort of archetype of a card.
Alright, so we've got a guy who makes enchantments cheaper and gets counters. It doesn't really seem like that's doing enough to...
I think low-key that might be in one of the best decks in the format that nobody's built yet.
Yeah?
I haven't figured out how to build it yet. But there's a card called Dance of the Months, which is a wonderful name, which I don't know how to make it be broken yet, but it feels like it could easily be 6 mana win the game. That's well worth investigating. And Starfield Mystic would absolutely be in that list.
So do we play that Great Henge here? Because if we... So we can't really attack with the Tolsimir without losing him.
I mean, to be honest with you, the answer is you just attack with everything and you win.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because they don't have any viable blocks. But ignoring that, it just depends on the threats. You know, if Starfield Mystic was going to power up their deck, you wouldn't play the Great Henge, so you'd get to kill it with a Nightpack Ambusher token. If there was nothing specific you needed to kill, you'd take this turn to play the Great Henge, so that when there was something you needed to kill on a later turn, you wouldn't have the pressure of needing to play the Great Henge still.
Yeah, and I suppose at this point I've got the biggest creatures I'm ever likely going to get.
Yeah, I mean, there's no point in delaying to get a bigger discount on it when you could spend mana that you're otherwise going to waste to cast it now at the cost it is now. You don't get any bonus for having spent less mana on it later on the line.
Hey, Hero Gaming Simon, welcome to the stream. We're doing some testing for an event next Saturday, which is a potential win one of every card in the set. Which admittedly isn't even, like, it's only one, isn't it? Oh, it's in Standard. Okay, that's more than I thought it was. So there's high stakes competition at next Saturday and possibly Sunday as well, depending how it goes.
I wouldn't be surprised as well if Brawl comes out shortly afterwards. And
what is Brawl?
Brawl, it's a singleton format that people are very excited for, and I think they said is going to be a weekly event. So one copy of every single card in Standard is a complete playset of the entire Brawl format.
Yeah, okay, that's quite
that would be a pretty sweet price. It's like Baby Commander. So it's like Commander, but all the numbers are smaller than regular Commander. So do you want to switch over to like deck building view or collection view? So I want to show you this card that I think.
Oh right, okay.
You might go, oh, these are the things that you play to make this broken.
Okay. All right, what card are we looking for?
I mean, we don't want it in this deck, but it's just called Dance of the Months, if you want to search for it.
That is a pretty impressive name.
It's a great name.
Nope.
You can just hit the... This is why collection might have been better. Oh, you're there. Dance of the Months. Return up to X target artifact and or non-aura enchantment cards, each with converted mana cost X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. If X is 6 or more, those permanents are 4/4 creatures in addition to their other types.
That's weird. I like it. It's weird.
So I think you can build a self-mill shell where it's probably possible to find a combination of like 4 or 5 targets for this that just win you the game on the spot if you resolve it. I'm not entirely sure what those are offhand. There might not be enough of them in the format yet. Maybe there's going to be something that's printed in, the next core set before things rotate. But this is why I was saying Starfield Mystic might be a thing, is that this is going to be a deck that's absolutely stuffed full of enchantments, so getting a creature that reduces their cost by 1 and also does something when they go into the graveyard, I think seems quite appealing. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the sleeper card of the set, and it turns out that it's just absolutely busted and takes over the format.
Okay, let's have a look at that. Oh wait,
see if you can break it by that event next weekend.
Wait,
if you can, you'll get 12 wins.
Oh, I think I accidentally turned on some sort of filters. There you go.
Or if you just leave here and then hit
that's weird.
Don't save then at all. Undo whatever it is.
Okay, that looks interesting. I'd be fascinated to play that though, and I guess I won't get the chance to. I don't know if I want to do that like in this particular context, but yeah, that sounds fun.
I think it's one of those decks where, like, even if you don't play it perfectly, if it actually is a thing, it's just going to be so ridiculously overpowered that if people aren't specifically prepared for it, you will just beat everyone constantly.
Alright, well, let's get back into actually playing some Magic. So, we've done Tricolor, we've done Bant Wolves, we've done Red Black Knights, we've done Mono Red, we've done Mono Black. So, I guess what are we missing here? We've got our own version of Black White Knights. I don't think we've done that yet, have we?
Our own version of Red White Knights. We don't have a Black White Knights, but there's a Channel Fireball Black White Knights.
Oh, that's right.
Those are the remaining two. Maybe you want to have a look at our Red White, and then that alternates back and forth.
Let's do it.
And then I think you just need to decide whether any of these decks are the deck. If they're not, we can cast the net wider and find other things. If they are, I actually think you just play the rest of your games with that deck, just to try and get as really confident with piloting it and how it fits in the meta as possible, and then figure out if there's any changes you want to make. So yeah, this is our first glance at a Red White Knights list, and it's very equipment focused and very token creature focused. So there's a lot of ways of buffing lots of creatures. There's lots of payoffs for having lots of creatures. There's payoffs for lots of creatures entering the battlefield. There's lots of ways of making lots of creatures, and then of course the equipment's just very, very powerful and works really well with random tokens running around.
Yeah, this is the poop out, like throw out critters, have the Worthy Knight poop out more. Doesn't have the best synergy with Inspiring Veteran, but I think we just wanted to try it out because it was an interesting looking card. And we hope that somehow we chuckle our equipment onto these cheap creatures. Circle of Loyalty to get them to be a bit stronger, and hopefully just rush people down again, which I suppose is pretty similar to the other Knight deck.
What I would say is that I had been misreading Circle at the time. I thought it was -2 for each Knight. It's possible that we should have like 2 Circles and 3 Mace or something like that, but I think we should still play it as is and then figure it out from there.
Alright, let's run at people and run them over and possibly not say sorry.
I think any good draw of this will just absolutely steamroll people. The question is, you know, how hard is it to get that to play out correctly? And I don't think it is. I think this is actually going to be a reasonably consistent and powerful list. It just probably does need tweaking a little bit. It's probably like 3 or 4 cards off, assuming that this is the correct cards in terms of like 3 or 4 more copies or less copies of things.
That's what have we got? So we've got
No 1-drop.
Yeah, that's a bit unfortunate. I mean, getting an early Worthy Knight's quite nice.
And we're on the draw, so we might very well hit our 3rd land on turn 3. Even if we don't, we have the Veteran to go on turn 3 if we haven't got a 3-drop. Sorry, if we haven't got 3 mana. I think this is okay. It's a bit iffy. It's not the ideal hand, but I think it is a playable hand for this list. If this is the average case hand for this list, I wouldn't play this list, but I don't think it is. I think it's still better than a random 6 hand.
Alright, well, I think it can also be a good thing. If we're running with slightly suboptimal hands, we get to see a little bit more of what the deck actually does.
Yeah. Alright, this looks okay. Whoa! Why are we paying 2 life for no reason?
What? The
Sacred Foundry is a shockland, and we have no 1-drop, so that should be our turn 1 play.
Oh. Again, you're preparing the lead there, man, because you're talking about the end result of what you're saying before you get there. But yeah, you're right.
Like, against mono red, that is a bad choice.
Yeah, it's because I haven't really played with the shocklands, so I haven't kind of like got that already in my head. Alright, so yeah, so that's less than ideal. That if we die from 2 life damage, then I'll feel bad, I guess.
I mean, it's just something to keep in mind, because it means that because you're trying to figure out how good the decks are, you can then think back and say, okay, well, actually, yes, we died by 2 points of life and we would have won if that had not happened, so actually the deck performed fine here. I think I'd probably run out the Contender. It's probably going to be too small to do anything, but you might be able to dig down to a removal spell.
Yeah, that's fine.
That could have been a Contender.
You need another Knight in play for that.
Well, there we go. We learned today.
But it still maybe was the play anyway, because you can play 2 things next turn, and you weren't able to do that if you'd played either of the 2-drops this turn. He might not have. He's going to have something to make the Steamkin a 4/4. But yeah, I mean, it was the most mana efficient thing, and there's a good chance if we stop them that we do outcard them anyway, so not drawing the extra card isn't the end of the world. Acclaimed Contender is a lot less exciting looking when that happens, though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least we can crack back on the Planeswalker, I suppose.
Yeah, if that looks to be the correct line. It probably won't be, unfortunately. I think we'll be too vulnerable, but we'll see what happens. I mean, this is just going to run us over. Sorry?
We've got the Veteran to be able to pump up our Contender to make it big enough to take down the Planeswalker. And then we'll have the Vanguard and...
That may be true, but we probably die if we don't trade the Contender off for the Steamkin. That's the point. It's not that we can't attack it, it's that we can't attack it and then still live. Look, his mine is really good. Yeah, I guess you pay the 2 for the Foundry and then play both the creatures out and then block. That seems like the most sensible line, right?
I guess so.
This is a slightly more conventional version of the red deck list, though. It's not terrifically different to ours.
Yep, so we can afford to attack. So,
Like, if we could kill the Chandra, it might be correct, because we do want that dead. But, yeah, I think given that we can't, it's not worth it just to kill a 1-1.
yeah, we give up a lot. So we have got Embercleave to be able to do some shenanigans in the future turn.
We probably kill Chandra with Embercleave next turn, I think. Oof, Frenzy. Alright.
Yeesh.
I'm surprised they're playing that rather than the 4-mana Chandra, if I'm honest.
Oh, that's right, the 4-mana charge. Okay, so they've just burned through a lot of the...
Maybe that's it. It's just because they're playing Steamkin. Like, Frenzy is ridiculous with Steamkin when it really goes off. Yoink.
Okay.
They only get that till end of turn, but they do get to keep the token that it produces.
I mean, I'm not devastated by that outcome. I think them burning through their Steamkin feels like a bit of a mistake, just because they've not got anything really apart from a one fly.
Not at all, because with the Frenzy they need to cast any spell off the top of their deck so that they can draw, so that they can then cast the one underneath, and you can actually end up just casting 3 or 4 things in a turn if you minus the Steamkin.
Oh, there we go.
We're very dead.
Super Bond!
I don't know what I think about playing that Steal a Creature card, though. Like, it's great here, but it seemed like they were favoured against us anyway. If you're playing it against, like, green, it might just be a blank too much at the time. It only steals something with CMC 3 or less.
I mean, it's yeah. I feel like we were really. I'm not sure about the Lion's Claw. Like that certainly didn't do anything for us at all.
Well, we didn't get to 5 mana.
But I mean,
we
like,
just lost really quickly.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking, even if we had been able to cast it, then I still think it wouldn't have done a huge amount for us.
I think it would have been great. Mono red is really bad against 4-drops, and the only really good thing they would have done against it is trade off their 4/4, but it's got first strike, so that wasn't going to happen either. And then it kills them really fast once we stabilize.
Alright, well, I certainly wasn't convinced. I know we didn't start with the ideal hand, but it didn't thrill me, certainly, immediately.
Personally, I would probably want to play another game with that myself, but that did sort of deliver on what I was saying, that, you know, look, it does have some clunky draws, and it's not good when it has those. The question is, how good is it when it has an average draw, and does that offset it? I don't know that it would be the list I'd be playing, like something like the mono black or the mono red is just a more consistent way to beat down, or the red black aggro.
Yeah,
because you're playing with like the equipment and stuff, so you can end up with draws where it's like, I have equipment but nothing to put it on, so I lose.
Yeah, so I mean, that's kind of what we did end up with there. Also, I suppose we do have to worry. At least that time we did run into a deck that kicked our ass. So that's what we're hoping for, which is to see like what happens if that happens. Because I suspect there's going to be a lot of people doing that.
Annoyingly, it wasn't that different to the red deck that we were playing, but there will be lots of people playing mono red aggro decks like that one. So you're absolutely right. Getting to test the decks against those rather than other people sort of experimenting with new brews is more useful. So that's the last deck that you've got on your list currently, is the Black White Knights. Is that right?
And the premium deck, the red black aggro.
The red black aggro that you wanted to save for last. That's right.
Okay, so let's take a look at this one. So here's the spiel with it. Worthy Knight and Acclaimed Contender. So that's Worthy Knight over here. That's the one which we were trying to rely on before. Worthy Knight and Acclaimed Contender. So both things were in our previous deck. They're the reason to go white when playing Knights. We have got that Corpse Knight in, which was the one which got misprinted before. But so as you can sort of tell by that, having Corpse Knight in here, we are going towards Smitten Swordmaster territory again. So life draining.
I played against this list, actually. That was the one I played the mono black Knights against.
How did it go?
It did not end well for them. I don't know if they were playing it optimally, to be honest with you. They made a lot of stuff and they weren't willing to trade it off.
So they were trying to build up for Smitten.
They might have got there. Sorry?
I presume they were trying to build up for Smitten then.
That may have been it. Yeah. They didn't work. They should have been attacking. But I mean, that's just this is why you'd like to settle into a list fairly soon, so that you can figure out the answers to those questions now by playing multiple games with it. Of when do I save up creatures to curry favor versus when do I just swing in and throw things away to deal damage right now before you get to the ones where your loss is really painful.
So we're looking at a deck that's got only 1 to 3 drops and a Circle of Loyalty that's hopefully going to be cheaper than 6 anyway. So we're playing out the Venerable Knights, which will power up future things. Farmer, great. Ebon Legion, we already know a lot about that, it's very good. And then we've got our Poopers, our Enhancers, our Drainers, more Drainers. So I do like that Corpse Knight is a knight that doesn't require knights to get his effect off, so he's very nice with the that he uses those human tokens that Worthy Knight's making. Midnight Reaper, of course, loves everyone who dies, so that's great. Murderous Rider, we know, is amazing. Acclaimed Contender, we already sort of caught that one up already, but at least that's the experience I probably remember. And we've got the Ardent Veil, which you haven't used as yet, which again, like in this context where we've got several reasons that we'd want to have tokens to Midnight Reaper and the Corpse Knight, that we're getting a lot of use out of Castle Ardent Veil, even though we've only got one of them. We've got some temples. Well, I think I remember him saying in one of the previous things he wasn't a fan necessarily always of temples, because it's always going to come in tapped.
Yeah, I'm not sure I like the temples in this list, to be honest with you. I think they're unnecessary, but the one might be appropriate. I think the 8 jewels is probably sufficient, bearing in mind that you're also playing castles, and the temples don't help with that. But, I mean, they are powerful. It might be that's correct.
Alright, let's give it a go. Hoorah!
There are 61 cards in that list, though, so that's not correct.
Yes. Should we go through... I noticed that was the case, actually, with one of the other lists, is that they had extra cards, and I was like, what? So there we are. What do you think we can ditch from here?
How many land are they running? It might be that's just like an extra swamp or something snuck in. 23, that's probably intentional. Can I have another quick look at the list, though? Might be they are supposed to be one land lighter. Hard to read, to be honest with you. But you think that's actually as printed, as published? There was 61 on the list. It's not just come across.
It's more likely than there was another list which had 62 cards in it, which I was like, I mean, whatever. Let's just give it a try. Like, it's not good. I don't think it's going to make or break it. Hoorah! We've only got 5 games remaining before we are done. And I guess that's... Well, there's still, like, theoretical preparation to be done for that. But it's kind of weird that we'd have to go outside of Magic the Gathering Arena to actually continue to do prep. And that's a downside, I suppose, to them wanting to do things this way.
Yeah. I don't forget I'll be playing my own games out in my own time as well, and can cross-reference our conclusions. I have got a Simic Flash list built now. I couldn't find any sort of credible, up-to-date version of it, so this is sort of my take on updating Simic Flash for the new format.
Okay.
So I'll throw that over to you.
This one seems okay. We can bring out the Knight immediately. You can follow up with a Corpse Knight or Black Lance.
Not with that Temple of Silence, you can't.
Ooh. Whoops. Oh well, I think we might just have to do that anyway. At least we can guarantee we're going to get a land drop more or less with this.
Yeah.
I can live with it. What do you reckon?
I think it's okay. Clunky, but alright.
But yeah, I guess, there we go. That's one strike against Temple of Silence immediately. Yep. Alright, well we definitely don't want that, so that's something. So I guess we're probably going to be... Oh man, do we Corpse Knight out? And then... We can play a Corpse Knight here. The Corpse Knight is big enough to be able to. So
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
it's big enough to be able to absorb the hit or non-hit. That's okay for me.
Yeah, they actually have to play another card to be able to get him with the knight here.
I guess the question we're not completely screwed if we don't draw a land. Oh, that's interesting.
I didn't actually see what your scry was. I assume you scried away not to land.
Yes, that's correct. Alright, so we got a land. So we could play a couple of creatures here, potentially.
It's actually not that many options. You can only cast one thing. Because you've only got the single black. So I would just go with the Reaper here.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I forgot that these guys were competing for black.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, that seems reasonable. It certainly does disincentivize our opponent's aggression, but I don't think that's what they're going for here because of the druid.
Well, Knight says they want to be attacking.
Do you think we should be attacking with our Corpse Knight here?
Well, they can activate Knight next turn, can't they? So I would hold it back to double block the Knight.
That's going to put it... Yes, it puts itself up to 4/4. So it would kill both of our things, but we would get 2 cards out of the whole deal.
Yeah.
So I guess it's
So
not the worst.
we'd be up on card advantage. And if we're attacking, they're actually kind of up on tempo because they get to put counters on the Knight.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah, this kind of looks a little bit like green-black stuff. Aggressive, slanted green-black stuff.
So at least we got the Murderous Rider.
I wouldn't be shocked if the first few rounds are actually a bit like this next weekend. Obviously, the rounds maybe 5 to 12 are going to be pretty highly tuned meta lists. For the first few rounds, I think there will be a lot of stuff in a color combination that should be fairly beatable.
Okay, let's fix our mana up a bit. Okay, so right now these pelt collectors aren't big, but they're going to be.
Yeah.
I suppose the temptation here is just to like bung out a bunch of stuff and then just sort of sit here and not take and like because we could just take hits from Knights of the Ebon Legion and not be super worried.
The problem is though, like you said, these things will get big. So they like if you just sit here doing nothing, they can sit there doing nothing, and then their stuff is suddenly too big for you to handle. So I think you need to apply pressure now while their stuff is too small, such that you put them in a position where they can't apply that pressure anymore.
We're running out of time. So what do you reckon is the play here?
With everything.
Shouldn't I play the Knight first so that it gets the effect of the Corpse Knight?
Yeah, I guess.
I'm glad you agree.
I mean, I was thinking about holding up the removal spell, but we probably don't need to do that. I just don't see you getting through with anything. So it's slightly academic, but it does mean they're more likely to trade off here, which is probably good. Wow, they didn't. All right. I would have considered Black Lancing on the Midnight Reaper there. But you can do it in response to attacks on their turn.
We could smitten them.
I don't think it's worth it. I think getting the bigger thing on play is better, and then you can smitten for more later.
Oh, you mean throwing out the Black Lance when they attack?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It also means you get to hold up the Knight activation as well. The Knight of the Ebon Legion activation.
Oh, I forgot the Knight was actually going to get grown off that. Yeah, I'm really glad I played now. I think we're in a pretty decent spot. It feels like it's going to take too long for this whole thing here to come together. Oh, there we go. That's a bit more spicy.
I mean, that's not a big deal, because you're just going to Murderous Rider it in response to its trigger next turn. So they're just paying 3 mana to discard a card, essentially. Well, they're putting counters on things as well, I suppose.
So they can get life off of this, and whenever they play a creature, they're going to get a card out of it and get a +1/+1. So they're going to be growing up their stuff pretty quick.
So this is why we needed to apply pressure immediately, because they get to go bigger than us. We need to kill them before that happens. Put them in a position where they can't leverage those resources to kill us, because then they die.
Okay, so they've got unlimited card technique going on, but their mana is their main limitation at the moment. Okay, so are they going to attack with anything is the question? No. Do we chuck out the Black Lance here?
Yeah, I think so. I think you can't afford to leave the mana behind. You want to do it on their end step ideally, but here it actually doesn't matter because they can't do anything. So you could Rider the Regisaur right now if you wanted to get in for damage, or you can do it on their upkeep to get them to discard a card. I think given that they have so much card draw, there's limited advantage in doing that. So it might be correct to just Murderous Rider them right now. Like the Regisaur, so you can actually attack, if you think you will attack.
Let's see, I can't unfortunately do both sides of this. I was thinking about just getting a little bit more mileage out of the Corpse Snipe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think getting rid of it, like, they're gonna... It would be nice to get rid of the card from the hand, but I don't think that's gonna be what wins it ultimately, because as soon as they draw any other monster, then they're... like...
Yeah, you have to assume they have the capacity to keep drawing cards this game.
So do we carry Favor now? It seems like this would be the time to do it.
You can't.
Oh, that's right, because it's... Okay, that was dumb of me. Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, so we just chuck everything in, hope for the best?
Yeah, you don't really want to throw in the Knights, the Corpse Knight and the Knight of Ebon Legion unless you're looking for them to trade off. Unless you're looking for them to die. Which might be okay. You deal 1 damage and you draw a card for each one that dies, but I think it's better just to attack with the other 2.
You would think throw the Reaper in?
Yeah, the Reaper and the Black Lance.
I'm almost certain they're going to block the Reaper. No!
Nope. People are just very risk averse in this event, I've found. I think Curry Favor is worth holding back.
Yeah, I think so.
Like, you can be dealing 4 or 5 damage, which might be enough to kill them next turn. Or at least force them to make blocks they don't want to make.
Yeah, I feel like we need to be playing that out before we attack, because otherwise we're not going to end up with any knights afterwards.
But, well, yes, no, that's true actually, because the Corpse Knight means that they're then not wanting to block either. They can't not block or they die, and they can't block or they die.
Oh, this game feels a bit weird. Like, I think it feels like they're maybe thinking a little bit too much about what we're doing, and they're not just stripping away a ball. Because I would have felt very bad if the Midnight Reaper had died there, but.
Well, I think they're just autopiloting. They're like, well, if I trade with things, they draw. I don't want that to happen. But they're ignoring the fact that they're going to beat us on card advantage anyway. The only way they lose is by losing on tempo.
Yes. It does seem it's real. Well, so they're going to keep getting their life back with this Great Henge, but I think. Well, so we can drop the Murderous Rider in and drain.
Yeah, so you put them to 5. And then you can swing with 4 things. So if they block everything, they go to 1. That's not great.
Well, they are going to hit themselves for 1. With the
That's true. Mayhem. Yeah, actually. The spawn. Well.
Oh, okay.
Can you... If you draw a land, you could play the Murderous Knight and the Worthy Knight and the Murderous Rider. And then you still potentially have lethal by casting the drain and then swinging with everything.
We're not gonna block this, are we? There's no reason.
No. So yeah, if you can get 2 creatures, yeah. So now you can play the Knight and the Rider. Be very careful to tap the mana correctly. Make sure you play the Tournament Grounds to cast the Murderous Rider. It might not want you to do that.
Okay, this is going to soak my white. That's fine.
Yep. You just need to make sure you have a black source other than Grounds after you've cast the Rider. Yep. He wants to let you do that. So then I think if you drain and then swing, maybe you win. I think that's probably the line where you could win. Whether you do or not, I'm not entirely sure.
I love this combo here. So, yeah, wait, don't we just win now?
Yes. When did they get to 5?
We pinged them for multiple. When the Worthy Knight came in. Yeah, there we go. Bonk!
Wait, why did the Worthy Knight deal damage?
Because it's pooping out human tokens, which were then turning into -1s.
Yeah, but that's what I'm missing. What's making that be -1?
That's the Grave Rider guy. So, you may be asking a different question than I'm answering.
Last time I checked in, they had 10 life.
So
and then you said,
so
doesn't this kill them by doing... Oh, right, cool. Yeah, so the line of play we were going to make was garbage, because I thought Corpse Knight did damage when things died.
Right, so I won in spite of your advice there, because I just decided, well, that makes me feel a little bit better, actually, because I just did what I wanted to do, because that made sense to me, and ignore what you did. The student has become the master.
Yes.
But yeah, that was weird. I'm generally a fan of playing outside of, because yeah, the opponent had like tons of amazing stuff, but I think maybe they could have just beaten us to death before that all happened.
Yeah, they were far, far, far too careful with their permanents, too precious about their permanents. They definitely could have gotten in, made some trades, may even let some stuff get eaten and taken us out, I think.
Okay, let's have a look at your...
Yeah, I don't necessarily claim this is the perfect Simic Flash list, but it seems a bit closer than the things I could reasonably quickly find online. Bless you.
Excuse me. Alright, let's see how it goes. Because we've got a few more games to run. This has been quite fun.
It's probably missing a 2-mana counter, if I'm honest with you.
Eh. Alright, so you're going to need to take me through this, but it sounds interesting.
It's draw go. You play your land, and then you pass the turn, and then you do stuff based on what your opponent does. Every single card in your deck can be cast at instant speed. There's one that's an adventure that's an instant, and not instant speed on the creature side. Which is, okay. I'm not 100% sure about that card. But everything else is an instant.
I like it in that it feels like something which people probably aren't going to be anticipating. So, like, in the last game, like, our opponent didn't play correctly against us. I'm generally in favour of anything that's going to throw people off the way they wanted to play.
Yeah, although, I mean, this is an update of an existing archetype. Well, that's a snap keep because it's got Once Upon a Time. That's basically all you need to know with an opening hand, I think.
Yep. This is the game we get to play for free.
What you want to do, right, is you're going to play Island, you're going to pass the turn.
Okay, yep.
Then on their end step, you're going to hold priority, go into full control, that is. You're going to cast Once Upon a Time. In response to Once Upon a Time, you're going to cast Opt. You can do that. Okay. Does that make sense? So you cast Once Upon a Time and then cast Opt before it resolves.
Okay, so...
I don't know if you can do that without going into full control mode. I haven't tested.
Alright, let's do that. So press control, we're going to full control.
And the point of this is it means you get a scry before you cast Once Upon a Time. And you also have additional information about what you were going to draw from the Opt.
Alright, this is fun.
It's one of those weird little edge things that it's going to take a while for people to learn, but this is the correct way to play those two cards in your hand.
Doesn't seem like that's a priority right now.
Well, if they're playing the Emberkin that gets the counters on it, Unsummon could be really strong.
It's up to you. You're basically playing this game.
I think I would keep it, but it's a bit narrow. Like, we are about to draw something else, so I think I would keep the Unsummon on top, draw it, and then we will get to Once Upon a Time and see what we want from that.
Alright, got a lot of options. Temple of Mystery, Hypnotic Sprite.
I think it's probably the Sprite.
Oh, hello. What?
Yeah, you timed out.
Oh dear. Oh well, we got the Sprite.
So now you play... Oh no, we got the Forest.
Did we?
Which was okay. So now you just play the Forest and pass. Like, you literally just play a land and pass each turn. Sprite is the only thing you can cast at sorcery speed. I believe it is a 2/1 flyer, or it's a 2/2 that can't block. Yes, 2/1 flyer, so you wouldn't want to play that here.
Yeah, it is. We could use it as a counter spell. We need 3 mana for that.
That's the primary use case. You're going to counter something with the next turn.
So we could flash in something to take the.
I think you're playing the Cutthroat this turn and just not blocking.
Fair enough.
But you need to spend the mana on it at some stage in time. That may as well be now. But the fact is, it's going to be big enough to eat the Spitter on a later turn, so I think taking the extra 1 damage, well, I guess 3 damage is worth keeping the Cutthroat alive to block something else.
That's right, it's going to get bigger. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just guaranteed to get bigger if they don't kill it. And if they kill it, well, they've used a burn spell up, and that's fine too. I don't know if your castle comes into play on tap yet. I think it does, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's okay.
So you may as well play that.
Boink.
And then you're almost 100% guaranteed to sprite something. It might be they make a play where you need to play like the other Cutthroat to make the first one able to block safely.
Okay.
So flash in the second Cutthroat to make the first one a 3/2 so it can block if they've not played something to counter.
We're keeping this guy on tapped, I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You're just full defense mode against these guys. You just want to stop them killing you, and then you'll find a way to kill them.
This definitely feels like a deck that feels very you.
Oh, yeah. It's basically fair. I mean, we're 100% countering that. It's one of the best cards in the deck.
Well, I didn't counter it because I got confused. I went through a tone of voice, and it sounded like something we were not doing it. So I'm like, all right, let's not do that then.
Well, now you want to go to combat, let them declare attackers, cast the second Cutthroat. So you can block with the first one.
Oof.
You might not be able to cast anything next turn now if they play a 4-drop.
All right. Well, yeah, that's a bit.
So now you eat the Scorched Spitter. You could unsummon something so you could block with the other Cutthroat, but I think it's better to hold the unsummon, even though there's not great use of it mana-wise.
Well, at least I suppose we do get to take out Chandra now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I guess we just wang everything at Chandra and hope for the best.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm glad they are much more specific with the all attack stuff now.
It's a lot easier.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got the potential to counter. I'm going to remember this time that we can counter stuff. That we can also just chuck in a Wildborn Preserver and unsummon something if need be.
I mean,
and then we can
if they have a 4-drop, they're playing it next turn. But almost everything in their deck is counterable with the Sprite, and it's almost definitely going to be better to counter anything than not. But it just depends on what they play.
Alright, that seems like a guy worth getting rid of.
How important is the War Boss? Do you think we can just deal with it with creatures? It's probably better to Sprite just for value, isn't it?
I think so. Like, it's going to be...
Don't know.
I honestly don't know. I mean, I don't think it's like do or die. We can always throw a wall.
I think I'd Sprite just so that you can cast it as a flyer later to enable the Wildborn Preserver. But I think I'd need to play this matchup a few times to know, if that makes sense.
Man, yeah, our Cutthroat's getting huge already.
It's so busted good in this deck. Alright, so start smacking them in the face. I think I would consider just dumping everything in play this turn. You want to play the Preserver first so that it can be a 3/3. It's not great to be playing everything on your turn, but you're getting a lot of power into play this turn by doing so.
Okay, if you reckon. So, Preserver first, because it's going to get an effect when other stuff comes in.
Mm-hmm. You get to pay 1 to put a counter on it when you play the Sprite.
Oh, that's right. Yes, I haven't used this before. So the mana works out pretty well.
I'm not entirely sure about the Sprite. Like, it is weird having to pay for something at sorcery speed in this deck. I know that for you that feels less bizarre because you've not played it before, but it is a bit surreal having a sorcery speed thing.
So there's nothing really holding us back from just swinging in with these guys.
Oh no, not at all.
There's very.
If they throw haste at you, you have blockers already.
Yeah. Though we don't have the end summon, it's not the end of the world. Yep, there they go.
That'll do it.
Okay, that worked pretty well. I'm definitely not going to be able to play that deck.
Sorry. You're definitely not going to be running it.
But it sounds like it might be excellent for you.
It's people are sort of saying it's likely to be one of the better decks in some sort of build like this. It's not a new strategy at all. It used to be blue-black fairies back in the day played exactly like this. So a lot of people are going to be very confident piloting, and it's just worth knowing it exists as much as anything else. So you know, don't play anything interfered Mystic Mana, for example, which is green, green, blue, blue. If you cast anything when they have green, green, blue, blue up, you will be punished severely for it because they're going to play a 3/2 flash that counters it.
Oh, I'm familiar with the one. Yes, I've lost many a game to that. All right, so we've managed to fit in some extra decks here from the 8 decks we're playing to test out this evening already. So, are we down to last one then? Red, blue. Yeah. All right, that's good. So this is allegedly an extremely good deck. Let's talk a little bit about their experiences playing it. So, the best performing deck with a 14-2 record initially had Dread Horde Butcher in it, which is it's a red and black haste 1/1. If it deals combat damage to a player, it gets a +1/+1, and it also deals damage to any target when it dies equal to its current power. That seems like a pretty decent one, but they swapped it out instead for Fervent Champion. Just to have more 1-drops.
I think that's sensible.
The Fervent Champion, as we saw before, is there to exploit... Actually, sorry, I should bring up the deck as well. We're talking about this.
And we should also say this is Andrea Mangucci. So he played these decks during the streamer preview. Andrea Mangucci is a well-known brewer and is in the Magic Pro League. So he should know what he's talking about.
Yeah, the Fervent Champion, again... As you can see here, first strike and haste has that discount equipment stuff. So, okay, this one is 60 out of 60. I was just checking it wasn't anything weird. So it's going to be, yeah. So it's not using the. Let's just check this is the right one. This is red background. This one. So this one doesn't actually doesn't have any equipment or anything in it.
No, it's just it's just a strong 1-drop.
Yeah. Like, especially when it's going to be going with other knights. So Gutman is not a knight. But we are looking at some different stuff here. Let's see. So, okay. So they're putting it... This is what the deck's been built around, which is Bone Crusher Giant and Murderous Rider. So we've had a lot of experience with these already. Kill something, or probably kill something. And then have a decent bodied creature afterwards for your troubles.
What's interesting is, as I'm reading this at the same time, he's sort of saying, and I think this is right, this is the Castle Lochthwain deck. So Castle Lochthwain is a ridiculously powerful card if you're emptying your hand reliably. We've seen this effect before, 3 mana, tap the land, draw a card, you lose some amount of life, and it just dominated Standard when it was last around. And Regisaur is a great card to pair with that, because you're looking to be aggressive, you're looking to empty your hand fast, so that makes a lot of sense to pair those together. He's only playing 2 castles, though, which, given that he has 12 swamps, I think is entirely unnecessary. I mean, intuitively, I think that's unnecessary. You and I concluded it was when we were deck building together, and Frank Carston's statistical analysis says that that's unnecessary and you should just run 4 of them. There is the issue that, well, okay, but yeah, then you have to cut land in place of it, so maybe you run 3 of them and 7 swamps. But I don't know, I could see getting to the full 4 if you cut the Fabled Passage. Like, Fabled Passage is going to come into play tapped far too often for this list, in my opinion, for the value it offers. It's just a 9th dual land. Is it a 9th or is it a 5th? I can't see the list right now. Yeah, I mean, it might be you just have to have it for the consistency, but given that you're playing 12 1-drops, a land that comes into play tapped on the first 3 or 4 turns of the game in Fabled Passage seems iffy to me. Don't get me wrong, I would play it in its existing form that's already been tested by a renowned deck builder, he may very well be right. But for me, I think I'd cut the passage for another Lochthwain. I might even try and squeeze in the fourth one.
Okay, well, this is one which I'm already fairly inclined to give a pretty solid run, just based off his results. So, yes, we're going to be chucking in lots of 1-drops. We've got the 12 1-drops. So, Robber of the Rich is new here. So, this is going to be... So, when it's got Reach and Haste, so that's kind of an interesting combination. I don't think I've ever seen those two together before. If Robber of the Rich attacks, if defending player has more cards than you, so again, we're looking at something where we're going to have no cards in hand. Exile the top card of their library. During any turn you attack with Rogue, you may cast that card. We spend mana as though any mana can color to cast that spell. So, does that Robber of the Rich effect persist past their death?
Yes.
Okay.
As long as you attack with another rogue. The question is, are there any other rogues? I don't think there are.
Almost
so it doesn't really. But I mean, if he dies in that combat, you can cast it afterwards. Interesting side note, the reason it has Reach is purely to justify the fact that it has the Archer creature type.
Okay.
And of course, it has the Archer creature type because Human Archer Rogue is the correct set of creature types for Robin Hood.
Yep. Alright, well, so that's something new. We've got Storm Crusader. We haven't actually used Stormfist Crusader, though it's been in the list.
I think it's going to be amazing.
So yeah, we've got some interesting stuff at play here. Of course, we've got Spawn and Mayhem, so we saw this before be a bit of a liability to other people. But, like, again, this is going to be something where it's going to be our finisher. We can also Spectacle this guy out for 3 mana. Very, very, very nice. Especially because we're going to be hitting, hopefully, early on.
It's been reliably the best finisher for Rakdos since it was released a few months back. 6 months back or so.
Alright, let's give this boyo a go. So, big expectations for this deck. If it turns out to suck, or that we turn out to suck. We've only got 3 games left to do any fiddling around with it, so we've certainly made the most of... Well, I say made the most. We've certainly got a lot of mileage out of this event by seeing a lot of decks. Though, I don't know if we've got many.
I would definitely say after this game, while it's fresh, rather than trying to barrel into more games, it would be good to take a step back. And I've been trying to get us to do it a little bit as we go along, talk about the decks and how you found them and how you think they compare in terms of their power level, in terms of how easy it is for you to pick them up and play them correctly right away, that sort of thing.
Okay, so we'd have to Blood Crypt, pay for a Blood Crypt to get Gutter Bones out, or Knight of the Ebon Legion.
I don't think this deck really cares too much about paying the 2 life, to be honest with you. I think it's perfectly happy to do that if it gets a 1 drop down.
So we've got Blood Crypt into Lochthwain into... That seems decent. I think that's a good hand. What do you reckon?
Yeah, you've got 3 creatures in play on turn 2. That seems really good for an aggro list. And then you still have a burn spell, plus another creature for a bit of card advantage, and you can actually dump your hand really fast to take advantage of the Castle Lochthwain ability. So this seems like the sort of hand this deck really wants. Obviously, it might want the Regisaur for turn 3, but otherwise it's pretty much there.
Do we Gutter Bones or Knight here, do you reckon?
I think it's Bones, because I don't think you're triggering Knight next turn either way. So you're just getting in for more damage this way. And because you can't activate the Knight's ability, the Gutter Bones is more likely to get through a blocker anyway.
Yeah, I know Gutter Bones does feel awful. Okay, so they've got something which they want to get out quickly. Interesting.
Ooh, even more interesting. Have a look at our opponent's avatar. Those of you who participated in the closed beta should now have an email that unlocks the exclusive beta tester avatar and card back, which we've actually been waiting for since, I think, the closed beta. It might even be the alpha.
Okay, so here we could be so we just go in with the Gutter Bones here and then chuck out our other stuff. That was what we initially were planning to do.
Oh yeah, just absolutely just swing straight at it and trade it off. I think there's no reason not to do so, given that you get the Gutter Bones back later if you need to. And the Knight, you want to kill that as soon as possible, because if you wait, it's going to leave a counter behind.
Okay, looks like they didn't take the bait. That's fine, we're going to dump all our stuff out the board and then have tons of damage!
I mean, on the basis of wanting the Knight to die without leaving value, you could have gone for the removal instead. I think it's better just to get more stuff on the board like you did.
Well, now also we're representing 4 damage from just Gutter Boneses.
Oh yeah.
So that's brilliant for our Knight of the Ebon Legion. So he's going to grow up to be a big old knight. Oh, interesting. Well, oh, okay. I think we're quite happy to take that, aren't we?
Yeah. I think this is going to be a case of like our opponent not getting the who's the beatdown thing, and they why can't I put my Thip avatar on? They're saying, well, I'm an aggro deck, so I should be attacking all of the time, irrespective of the fact that actually they should be blocking at this point.
So we could we could use Bonecrusher to shock their Inspiring Veteran, or we could go for a Spawn of Mayhem play.
I think given that they're attacking, the veteran's actually not generating a lot of value, so I would swing with everything, because they're not going to block the Knight of the Ebon Legion anyway. Then you definitely get the counter on the Knight of the Ebon Legion. You might even kill the veteran anyway, and then you just play the Spawn, and then it's pretty much over from there.
I feel like the veteran might block. No, okay.
They might have blocked a Gutter Bones, but that doesn't really matter.
Alright, so yeah, I think it makes sense to get Spawn. We're about ready for the Regisaur to make its appearance, but this seems too good to not do.
I mean, they're already... Sorry, no, it's your life total that affects the Spawn of Mayhem, but that also shuts off their ability to race you, because the more they race you, the scarier the Spawn gets, you know?
Yes. I think at this point, I'm expecting something big. Oh, no, that's not something big. What are they going to do here?
Not a great deal, I think.
I think we presumably just block something?
What does the Fervent Champion say? It's...
First strike.
Could they give it +2 power, do you think?
Maybe.
Or do you think they're just throwing it away to give
do we
one
actually
extra
not
damage
care?
on
Or
the
do we
knight?
actually want to get down to 10 life?
I think you just let them hit you. I
Yeah.
just don't think the damage is worth the risk of them blowing you out with anything clever that they're actually doing.
Well, yeah, it's because Spawn of Mayhem is going to make it... It's going to get bigger off of this anyway.
Yeah.
So, okay, so we've got 5, 6... Okay, so we're representing... This guy's definitely going to get blocked.
Mhm.
So we've got 4... Wait, we've got lethal anyway.
You have lethal on the board. So
Alright.
they need to gain life. The only way they're likely to do that is with a pump spell, and then you just cast your removal spell in response to that.
Man, the spot... Okay, well that worked pretty well. I really like the pooping out 1-drops early on.
Yes, yeah. That's a strong ability.
Okay, so let's do some review before we get into our final games.
Yeah, so
Oops, that was what I meant to do.
I think it's important reminding yourself of the decks, because the ones that you might actually think are better after reflection might not be the ones that jump to your mind. So I think the very first thing that we played was the mono black sort of... It's weird. It's sort of half mid-rangey, half aggro, in that it's absolutely a full-blown mid-range deck. It has so much ability to draw cards, kill things, recur things, take over in the mid to late game with card advantage. It's also just got a really blisteringly aggressive curve, so it sort of half plays aggro as well. It almost feels a bit like a Jund deck in that way.
Is that right though? Should we be trying to hit both sides of the thing at the same time?
I think as long as you're not doing one at the cost of the other. Yeah, I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You know, you could say, well, how could we make this more aggressive? How could we make it more mid-rangey? I think it does both of those things really, really well. As it is, you know. It just happens to be that the things that give you great mid-range value, like Order of Midnight, like Foulmire Knight, like Murderous Rider, give you a really aggressive curve as well. The actual cards themselves have both those modes on them, rather than the fact that, like, oh, we're playing cards that are good for aggro and we're playing cards that are good for mid-range, that sort of separately do those things. Our cards just do both of those things naturally. I do question a bit about the Bell of the Brawl.
Yeah,
but
at least in the, you know, even theoretically, I'm not sure I'm seeing us having a huge board to be able to make the most of this. Like, it seems the most expendable part of this, certainly, because, I mean, you know, Midnight Reaper and Murderous Rider, we know both those are amazing. We didn't get a chance to use Order of Midnight at all,
Mhm.
but at least we can know that on paper that's that's a conundrum of which side of this to use. That's generally going to be fine either way you go for it.
I think any time that playing that is what enables you to curve out. So playing Order of Midnight is what enables you to curve out. You play it.
Yeah.
And then in the late game, it's Gravedigger, and that's fantastic as well.
Yes, a flying
that's-
Gravedigger.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Is like, you know, a really powerful Gravedigger is a fantastic mid-range card. A 2-mana evasive 2-power creature is a really great beatdown card. It's not that we're playing 2 separate sets of cards. It's just that the cards we're playing naturally do both of those things quite well.
It feels like Bell of the Brawl is probably the one which seems to have the least place. It's like I feel like it's literally just there for being a Black Knight with, I guess, Menace and an effect which probably is never going to make too much of a difference.
I'm not sure we really want to get too deep in the analysis right now, though, so much as like, let's remind you what the deck was like, and then you can sort of get a feel of what decks did you think were, you know, the more powerful decks that are going to be good in the format, and how well do you think they fit your playstyle that you'll feel confident piloting them. And then once you've decided on those, then you want to get into, okay, well, what are the changes I want to make now that I've played them? So it's a bit academic talking about Bell of the Brawl if you're like, I'm not playing this deck.
I'm middling on this. Like, it seems like it's using a lot of solid cards. I don't feel like the deck itself is it's not as coherent as I would maybe like.
Okay.
But it's still solid. I think it's the sort of medium which is not probably enough to get me to play it, but it's enough to make me say, like, it's certainly using a bunch of good cards.
Okay. Yeah, you can definitely run into issues of having just a pile of good cards rather than an actual deck.
Okay, so what do you want to look at next?
Well, I was kind of thinking we'd try and go back through them in the order you were playing them. So I think the next thing you had a go at was the Juicer list, the Juicer Phoenix list.
Oh, that's right.
That's
to
go to the most complicated list immediately after that.
Yeah, that was a big mistake. So, I mean, we know immediately this is not really a deck which I should be trying to run in a high-stakes competition, because I don't have the experience playing with it to know what the hell I'm doing. Like, we certainly got the hell kicked out of us, which was an interesting experience. I just don't think that's ever going to happen. Like, I wouldn't mind learning to play this kind of deck, for sure, but from where I am right now, it's like, no.
So it's very much worth knowing it exists and what it does and how it works. Not something that you're actually going to be interested in running for this event. So I think that's pretty easy. Tick.
If I'm playing against this deck, what are the big mistakes I can make?
Mainly letting Crackling Drakes live. It's pretty easy to go, oh, I don't really care about this right now, and then they just power a bunch of burn at your face, and then suddenly you've taken, 4 or 5 extra damage from the burn, and then you're also taking 3 or 4 extra damage from the Drake, and you're just dead right then.
That's right, no one wants to kill them because they already drew a card off it, so it feels bad to...
Yeah.
Okay, that's worth
it. But obviously, it will depend a little bit on the deck you're playing as to what you need to prioritize. But that's the thing that I find I most often go, oh, I blew that game, is when I've not dealt with one of those when I could have done.
Okay. So can you remember what's next?
So we would have jumped back to one of our decks after that. It might have been my Tricolor deck.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right. Tricolor. I kind of like this. This is the kind of deck that I would be very happy to play ranked with, because I would enjoy messing around with it.
Yeah.
And there's lots of different avenues of approach and stuff which I would find enjoyable, because, as obvious as it might sound, I primarily play Magic because of finding it fun. That's a good place to start. Yeah. And I think just all the different ways you could approach this certainly seem to do that. It's really hard to tell at this point whether or not that's strong enough to deal with some of just the kind of rapidly leap all over your face stuff. Like, we said, we're going to be running into like full-on harsh red decks that are just gonna throw everything at it.
But everything in this deck gains life over a little bit of time. So as long as you can get a big blocker up to buy you time, like a Giant Opportunity or a Woodland Champion or Wicked Wolf, as soon as you've got one of those blockers up, you can just start eating the food and then they can't ever kill you.
That's true. I think in an ideal world, we'd just be running this a bunch of times against red aggro if we had a lot more games to work with, and then just be like, okay, how often is this just going to get smashed?
I mean, it shouldn't do. It's the only deck. Well, it's not the only deck, but like this is the deck that gets to play the turn 1 ramp spell, which means that it's the one that gets to play something big enough to put a stop sign in front of red fast enough for it to matter.
Yeah, you're right. I think I haven't really appreciated, because I haven't played with it enough, like what food does for you. Yeah, for the Gilded Goose being able to turn that into mana, or I guess you're probably not eating the food that often just in a straightforward way, but it's there.
I mean, that's the thing is that is a very valid mode against things like mono red. Generally, you're trying to use it as a different resource, but yeah, once you've stabilized against an aggro list, and there will be a lot of aggro lists, as soon as you can put up a defense where they can't just kill you anymore, just eating 3 or 4 food puts the game completely out of reach for them.
I feel like Trail of Crumbs might be something that could be sort of reach too far against sort of aggro stuff, in that it's not gonna do enough quick enough.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. We've got the Trail of Crumbs, the Golden Egg. What are the other 2 drops? The Once Upon a Time. These are not doing a lot to stabilize on turn 2, but they're enabling you to put down a more meaningful blocker on turn 3 or 4. So the thing with like mono red is like, yeah, you can trade off your stuff, but they don't really care because they're usually getting damage in at the same time. So yes, you're being able to play something that interacts fast is good. What I find is more important is finding something that interacts that they can't deal with, and that usually just means something big. Wolf they can never kill. Giant they can never kill. Feasting Troll King they can never kill.
Yeah, I mean, if we get out the Feasting Troll King, then I think that's definitely game over at that point.
And I'm reasonably sure this can do it on turn 4. I've not done the math, but I think Goose plus Castle Garenberg casts it on turn 4.
Yes, I can definitely see what you're going for here with that, because that's going to be so ridiculous. But that does seem like
I don't think any deck in the format beats that reliably.
I mean, that's going to be one of the things we're going to run into if we decide to go for the more like weenie aggro stuff. Is just having someone doing this pretty quick and then just be like, oh, never mind, I guess I lose.
Here's something huge with vigilance and trample that you can never kill.
Yeah,
far too fast for you to deal with it.
Yeah, it's something to think about. Like, it feels
it's just so versatile.
It's something I would like to play, but I feel like it's such high stakes that I don't know if I can justify putting that much stock in a deck that I haven't had a chance to see kind of consistently work against a bunch of different decks.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's going to be true of any deck you pick, which is why you need to try and figure out which one you want to run with so you can play at least 2 more games with it, huh?
So, like, yeah, like, your Treacle, like, it's one which I like, but I don't know if I'm confident enough with it.
Yeah, I don't think you should be running a deck that you don't feel good about. I think that would be a big mistake.
I'd like for it to work, but normally when I feel that way about something, it's because I don't think it's going to work. Otherwise, I wouldn't have to like for it to work. I just think it would work.
Uh-huh.
So my gut tells me that I would feel better about myself for making that choice, but I would feel bad because I wouldn't have any cards at the end of it.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, that's the thing. All right, what do we have next?
So after that, we'd bounce back to a Channel Fireball one, which...
We wouldn't have gone straight into Bant Wolves, because that was on the food deck.
I think it was the Red Back Knights.
That sounds believable.
Because I wanted to make a point about the Stormfist Crusader being good.
That's right. So yeah, so this is a variation on the weenies because this had very heavy weenie presence with stuff that enhanced those weenies and we didn't. I think this worked relatively well, didn't it? Because it's got the very, very low curve, and it's got our good old friendos Reaper and Rider to prop up the top end.
The big thing that I took away from it, which I think is the same issue you'll find with the red-white Knights deck that we brewed, is how terrible Tournaments Grounds is with the equipment and with the adventure.
Oh, because you can't use it for the adventure part, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, that was problematic. Well, for equipment, it was...
it does cast the equipment. Yes, it was just for the adventures, sorry.
I feel like we probably, if I'd been more aware of that, we could have worked around that better.
Mm-hmm.
It would definitely... I mean, you're right, that it is a problem. I don't think it's a big enough of a problem to be kind of like throwing the deck way over it.
Yeah.
I kind of liked it. I thought that it was... Like, I think a lot of people will be running this just because it's like... You've got a little bit going on in terms of you're trying to grow the Knight of the Ebon Legion. You're thinking about when you're going to stop attacking and just smithing the crap out of everything. And you've got the Embercleave kind of surprise! Which it feels like that's a much bigger surprise than you'd expect for this kind of deck.
Yeah, it's the oops I win moment.
Yeah, which I kind of like. It seems decent. I'm just going to really go back over the... this was Red Black Knights. So this is the one that was their second favourite, I think. Yeah. Like, I think this is good. I think maybe if... I suppose this does have a decent amount of power with the Embercleave to be able to get past bigger things, because... Well, it's only +1/+1, double strike, so what we're talking about maybe stuff that would be realistically like 2 or 3 power double striking at most.
Yep. Which is still 6, which will beat down most things.
Yes, that's probably the highest we'll ever potentially reach with the deck. Unless we're starting to start sticking a Steel Claw Lance on it as well. But then it feels like that's kind of telegraphing that play quite heavily. It's... I don't know. It feels like it's a sensible list. Like, I love the castle, again, with this, because it's an empty your hand deck, much like the other red-black one is. And that it feels like this is a very, very coherent deck list.
Yeah. I mean, my question here is there value in playing red-black Knights over just playing straight red-black aggro?
I don't know, honestly. It feels like the red-black aggro is the same thing, but probably just better.
There's actually very little Knight synergy in the red-black Knights list. It's basically just Fervent Champion, right? And Steel Claw Lance.
Yeah, I mean, you're playing a lot of
you have
Knights.
the Paragon.
Oh, yeah.
Black Lance Paragon, yeah.
Yeah, there are a lot of Knights in here because of the Smith and Swordmaster, so I think all of the creatures are Knights.
Yeah, so it's almost... It's kind of the Smith and Swordmaster deck, isn't it?
Yes. Well, it kind of is and isn't, because the black-white has the multiple ways of getting the same kind of effect. Whereas this one is... I feel like this is... Because it's red, right, rather than black-white, it's more like smack them in the face for a while, and then use this to just get that last bit of extra damage in, which I think is fine as an idea, because it at least diversifies your play portfolio. And I'm not sure, I don't know what happens if you go up against another super aggro deck, but...
I mean, the life gain on the Swordmaster, on Curry Favor seems pretty good there.
I mean, I don't think you're gonna stall out the game by any means.
The life on the Black Lance as well. So you've got 8 cards that gain life, right?
Yes, I mean...
Rider has lifelink as well. Murderous Rider has lifelink.
That's true. We haven't had a chance to use that yet, but that's true. Especially if we double strike it, that's quite a lot of life.
You have a decent amount of incidental life gain to contend against the other aggressive decks with.
Yeah, I think it's good. I suppose the other thing is that, because I think we're going to have a very similar discussion with the black-white deck, and the other red-black deck, is presumably if anyone's specking against this kind of deck, they're specking against all of those kind of decks. I don't know what it would be.
I mean, the big thing is the targeted board wipe. There's a 4-mana black sorcery where you choose a creature type. All creatures of that type get -3/-3.
So yeah, that's gonna happen a bunch, isn't it?
So yeah, if people are expecting Knight Tribal, you will see that out of the control decks that are around. That said, you're an aggro deck in a brand new format. The control decks don't really know what they're controlling against. This weekend will be the research sort of moment for them to find out what the meta is going to be, so they can try to guess what answers they need to pack for next weekend. But
what's that spell called?
Blacky 4-mana kill thing tribal card. It's 4 mana, it's a sorcery, it's in Throne, and I think it's a rare.
Okay, because that seems like that's still a solid spell, whatever happens.
It's not bad. Like, it will kill something small on its own, but you kind of need to be up against Tribal for it to be really good.
Oh, it's
maybe I misremembered it. Is it not 4 mana? Is it not a sorcery? Maybe it's an instant. Goodness, that would be strong.
Expand our search horizons a little bit here. Get rid of this other stuff.
Maybe I dreamed it.
There we go. Witch's Vengeance, it's 3 cost.
That's one. Wow.
So that's gonna be good against pretty much any deck, isn't it?
Yeah, at 3, you just play it as removal and then get them if it's a tribal deck.
Yeah, it's like, it's kill something or kill everything.
Yeah.
So I don't see a world in which people are not playing this, because this just completely destroys any of these weenie like spam stuff decks. We've got no way of getting around that.
Well, only the Knights deck. The others aren't using overlapping creature types very much.
Yes. I would probably still play it, though. Like, if I was playing a deck that could support it.
I think if you want a second good black removal spell, yeah.
Because that's very cheap for that kind of effect.
I mean, keep in mind it won't kill a big thing. You know? And so against like the mono green decks, this can't be your primary removal spell. You need to have Murderous Rider. So this needs to be your 5th to 8th 1 black removal spell, which may be a thing. But the power level in a vacuum isn't really relevant. It's like, how does it compete for slots in a deck? So I think it's only going to be the control lists that are running this consistently.
So you don't think we should be kind of screaming and throwing everything out on the possibility that we lose games? That
I think it's a factor. I just don't think, I would be surprised if there are going to be many non-control lists running it, because there are generally better things. But if you're straight green-black mid-range, you might decide that you want another card in that slot, and Witch's Vengeance would be a good choice.
Okay. So, I mean, coming back to the actual deck itself, it does feel decently strong. Like, it's something which I would probably, again, enjoy playing more of, just to try and see all of these things actually happen.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get out of my mind the whole idea of just going back to Red Black and be like, well, that was, the most terrifying of the decks. So I'm kind of comparing everything by that sort of, say it's not, if it's not as good as that, why bother like even really thinking about it?
I mean, that's the problem, is you have quite a small sample size, but I think ultimately if you're feeling quite confident about a different red-black aggro deck, it's probably not worth dwelling too much on this one.
Yeah, I think it's good, but... Alright, so what do we have next? Presumably we went back to one of ours.
Yeah, we would have done. I think that might have been the mono-red deck at that point.
So, I mean, the mod I read. Yeah, so I do remember this game now. It felt not maybe as all in as I would have expected this kind of deck to be. In that we've got more stuff at the slightly higher end. Even though I suppose that's not really true, because a lot of this stuff is actually just 3 cost or below.
Yeah, Light Up the Stage is 1 mana spell. Skew at the Critics is a 1 mana spell. There's only actually like 3 actual 3 mana spells in the deck, and one of them is Bone Crusher Giant that you can cast for 2 mana. So there's only 2 spells, Spitfire and Charmed Acolyte of Flame, which can only be cast at 3 mana. And both of those are staples of the archetype.
I think the main thing I've kind of that, and you might well disagree with me here, but the main thing which kind of draws my eye here is having 8 things which kind of enable our as like really just to enable our weenies to be more powerful. And it feels like maybe that's a bit too many at the expense of not having as many of those weenies as we've seen from other people's red decks.
So it may be worth trimming a Torben for another small thing.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like it feels a bit cart before the horse kind of situation where we've got.
But I mean, the only really sensible one I can find is the Emberkin, and that kind of only half works with Calamity, and we don't have a draw engine to take advantage of it with. Sorry, Steamkin rather.
Oh, right, yeah.
I mean, we started out with the assumption of let's not be a Cavalcade deck, and then realised that there just wasn't a good choice for that in the format.
Oh, that's because I can't spell Steam.
I think there's a hyphen in it.
Yes, there is. But yeah, it doesn't have a obvious outlet for the Runaway Steamkin. I know we did get beaten up by one of these before. I do think they are ridiculously good.
Yeah, but that was someone just porting over the existing Cavalcade list without really making changes.
Yeah.
With the new stuff. But you could cut the Embercleave, cut some amount of the Torbrins for... basically, you'd have to cut the Embercleave and the Torbrins for Steamkin and a draw engine. And my experience with Cavalcade has been that it tends to lose every single game where it doesn't have a Cavalcade effect. And it's just been desperate for another one to be viable.
Well,
the second Torbrin is garbage, though, so you could cut that to like 3 or something.
Yes, I think you could probably get away with that. I don't feel like this deck is close enough to like an optimal version of itself to be trying to put any great stock into. Though I think it's interesting, and I'd like to. This would be something I'd be interested in trying to mess around with further. But I wouldn't kind of be like, this is the deck I've got to run, otherwise.
I think it's worth being aware of it. I think you'll see a lot of very similar lists. The big issue I have actually with it is just Gingerbrute and Torbrin. The deck clearly wants both, but they don't want to be in the same deck together. I don't really know how to reconcile that.
It's not red. Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? I mean, because I think other people are just bringing across that Spitter, aren't they? With the one that does one damage.
Yeah, which you could go that way. I don't think that would be an unreasonable thing to do.
Like, I guess we could always... That could be one of the things in place for Torbrin. But anyway, let's not get so much time on this, because I think it's not really kind of that.
You could cut the Torbrin and the 2 Embercleaves and one Gingerbrute, and then bring in 4 copies of the 1/1 Elemental. That would probably be the most reasonable way to make those adjustments, I think.
Alright, so where are we going next?
I don't know, what should we play next? We're doing a Channel Fireball deck. I mean, I'm only really going through it in this order in the hope that it helps you to remember more.
I think it
effectively.
does.
So if you can't remember the order, then it may not be that useful.
Probably Bant Wolves.
Could have been Bant Wolves. Yeah.
Let's just go for it anyway.
Let's say it was.
So this one was interesting. I found it very hard to read the power level here, like in terms of, like, it did work extraordinarily well because we got the Tolsimir pretty early on, and it did create some weird board things that definitely threw our opponent off very badly.
Yes.
Well, I think they just like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing or not doing here, and so I will just die instead.
But I mean, as we were saying early on, is it does seem like the Tolsimer interactions are where most of the power level of the deck is. I think that there's something here that doesn't seem like a very refined version of it.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the way which our channel Friable friend was talking about, he didn't sound like he was terribly confident that this was like what he should be going for ultimately. This feels like a transitional deck on the way to something better.
Yeah.
So, with that reasoning, let's toss it. Alright, next one up is Simic Flash, maybe?
Might have been. I think it might be Red White Knights.
Oh geez, we're already past midnight. Alright, let's get through these really quick. Wait, oh, we didn't look at Black White Knights, did we? Where looks this deck? The Black White Knights. I thought this was pretty decent. I mean, we got a very weird game where the opponent just didn't do anything. I have a feeling that this might be a deck that just gets knocked around by a deck that does stuff, though.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like it's maybe I would probably play it maybe too passively. It does. It's nice that it's got a very, very viable alternate win condition. In fact, that's really its main win condition.
I mean, I did kind of have to push you fairly hard to like go now, get in, do the damage, attack with everything, worry about what happens on later turns later. You've got to pressure them, or they're free to just do whatever they want and take over.
Yes, and that's the thing. It's like I've still got to learn how to play that style. Where I think I was so worried about losing what I already had that I didn't do any. I would have quite possibly not done anything. Yeah,
durdle around, and then their deck is better at winning a longer game, and so your stuff just looks weak at that point.
So I think.
So I think it's that in and of itself makes the deck seem slightly less appealing. Like as I said previously, having a linear aggressive list like this is not bad in the early stages of the format because people don't really know how to make their lists efficient, so they tend to be a turn slower than they ultimately end up being. But it does mean, as I said, it like when the deck is in the position to just get in and be aggressive and do stuff and put pressure on them, it's going to work. When it's forced to be defensive, it will just crumble because it needs to be in that driving seat, dealing damage, getting on top of them, getting their life total low, building up counters on their Knight of the Ebon Legion, getting to a point where you can burn them out with a Corpse Knight. And I just don't think it's able to do that from behind or from the back foot at all.
I could definitely see situations in which, like they get out something just big enough that you're. I mean, you've got a bit of death touch and things, but you've got a limited kind of ability to do anything about certain creatures. I think beyond a certain point, you've got some removal, but pretty damn limited. It's Murderous Riders and alternate forms of Foulmar Knights, and I think that's basically it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if you end up in a situation, I guess, against a green deck, wherever they've got a bunch of big things, you just lose.
Yeah, again, if you've been able to apply that pressure early, they've not shut you down in the early game. You might have them at a lower life total. They can't attack you. You have a tiny bit of time over a couple of turns to draw things to burn them out with something like the Corpse Knight or the Smitten Swordmaster. But I think outside of that, you're sort of dead on the water, aren't you?
I really feel like the green player we went up against could have easily just traded across all of our stuff, and I think it left us with effectively just like nothing, and then they would have oh, I've got infinite cards and infinite life. I'll just win. Yeah,
he definitely misread the value of the tempo versus the stuff in play, and he allowed us to apply more pressure to him than he should have done, and that will happen in the first 3-4 rounds of the event. But rounds 5 to 12, probably people are going to say, no, I'm just going to make trades, and then what are you going to do? You've got no follow through.
Yes, so let's go on to your Simic Flash deck, which is cool, but we're definitely never going to play it. So I guess there's not already that much point looking at it, but it's neat.
It's just a normal deck. It's just that you do things on their turn.
Yeah, it's neat. I do like it. It's a great way to mess with people, especially when they're not comfortable in a format. and that's generally seems to make sense to me. But I don't know. I would definitely want to spend a lot more time learning how to. Like, I can sort of understand the basic interactions here, but once it gets to anything complicated, I'm like, ugh.
Well, the most complicated thing genuinely is that play where you cast Once Upon a Time and then respond to it with Opt. That said, I don't think this is the list. I feel like it needs a 2-mana counterspell. And it just doesn't have it. But I might be wrong. It might be that the format is such where the 2-mana counterspell just isn't very relevant. That would probably require playing, a lot more games than we'll have the opportunity to play to establish whether we can get away with cutting it. It used to be Essence Scatter was in the list. There is a substitute, but it might be too hard on the mana.
Okay, and let's go for the one which is always going to be the most obvious choice to go for, which is the red-black weenie. The thing is, I think it's probably the thing is I think at least we're going to try and get one more game on this one just because I want to see more of it playing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I mean. This one at least doesn't have the inherent massive weakness of being entirely night based, though it does have the night component. I'm imagining better decks will come along between now and then, but this is
It certainly got a really solid, consistent, powerful plan. So it seems like a pretty reasonable place to be entering the format from.
The Fable Passage thing, I definitely agree that that seems a bit weird because we've got 12 1-drops to have something that could potentially jeopardize that.
Yeah.
So I'd be okay.
Sorry.
I'd be okay tossing that out to replace it with something else.
As you say, you would need to play it a little bit more. Like, the mana is a bit hard in terms of needing black and red and double black. You do only have the 4 blood crypts as far as dual land are concerned, which is, I guess actually, to be honest with you, that's the thing we keep missing. Every time we talk about, what's the payoff of being knights in this deck, is that you get an extra untapped dual land in the form of the tournament crowns. So, if this were a knights deck, you'd have 8 untapped lands that tap for both colors of mana rather than 4. It might be that the Fabled Passage is just a necessary evil just to get the consistency of the color high enough. This is the reality of the check lands rotating out, is that we don't just get to have ridiculously good consistent mana in 2-color decks anymore. So sometimes you will need to play the odd Fabled Passage in there. And Fabled Passage is quite good. Probably with sequencing, it's not going to cost you too much too often, but it is going to be a case that sometimes it's going to come into play when you really do need that 1 mana right away.
So, from what we've seen so far, it was always going to be relatively inevitable. I think at least one of our 2 remaining games to get one of them with this list to see what it does against a different kind of deck. I'm not. Once that's done, let's get that started now. I would be prepared to try a different deck for the final game. As in,
from amongst the ones you've already played, or you're actually feeling that you haven't found the one and you'd like to audition something else?
No, not at this point. Jeez.
I would pretty quickly make your mind up about what you want to play, and get at least 1 second game with that deck, if that makes sense. Just so you've got that little bit more experience of what the cards look like in situ with other decks against them.
I think the one I've got the biggest questions about is Treacle. In terms of, I don't know if it's good or not.
We didn't get to see it to an enormous amount.
Okay, this is a bit of a weird hand.
This is... It does have a bit of 3-drop itis, this deck. But there are a lot of 1-drops and 2-drops, so I think there's a reasonable chance we're drawing something. I'm not sure whether you keep this or not. 2 Registors is a 6-card hand, isn't it? Because you're not playing 6 mana to put both of them to play on the same turn, so you will discard the other one. I think this is a mulligan on that basis. because you get to see another 7 cards and then pick a 6-card hand that doesn't, have that issue. This seems a lot stronger to me.
Yeah.
Sure, you're down a card, but you've got 2 Stormfist Crusaders, so you're going to be drawing anyway. Not knowing who you're against, I couldn't tell you if it's Blood Crypt or Mountain. You do need double black in this list eventually. You don't really want to pay 4 mana to get your first 2 land into play.
Do you think we could? Do you think we toss one of the Blood Crypts then?
It's tempting. I don't know. I mean, you do have the Regisaur, so your clock is quite high. Maybe you can afford to take the 4. Does Stormfist gain life? I feel like it does.
No,
loses
it loses
1.
life.
You're very all in. This is like classic Suicide Black territory. I think if they stop you, you die quite fast if you keep the second Blood Crypt. Keeping the second Blood Crypt means they're less likely to stop you. I honestly don't know what the play is here.
So
I know I could tell you 100% if this was game 2 or 3.
Alright, I'm going to toss the Mountain then. Is that really stupid?
It's not wrong. It's not right. It's an option. Oh, well, I chucked the Blood Crypt anyway because you were fractionally too late.
Well, at least I don't have to pay for this guy.
Yep.
Okay, well, this is good, so hopefully... Oh, LA.
That was the correct play. I can tell you immediately if they're playing turn 1 Footlight Fiend. Oh yeah, you don't want to bother stamping that out. You absolutely did not want to take the extra 2 damage if you could avoid it. This is just a straight race to 20 damage.
Oh, that's right, I misread Stormfist Crusader. I thought it was at the beginning of each player's upkeep. That's so much better than I thought it was.
Mm-hmm. Okay, these guys are not actually racing you, they are aristocrats. So they're going to be making creatures to sacrifice and then draining you for each creature that dies. I'd consider just snap killing the priest here.
I'm feeling that way as well.
You're cool though, because that will slow you down a little bit.
Well, the Stormfist is going to get nailed out by the Footline Fiend. But we can just, it's not the end of the world.
Stormfist has Menace.
Oh, it does. Okay, in that case, sold!
Unfortunately, you can't play the Fervent Champion and attack with it. Because that will trade off with the Footlight Fiend. But you may decide that you just need to do that and just suck it up and have that happen at some point anyway.
I think I can live with that. If they end up burning the Footlight Fiend to get that effect off, then...
Well, you should have played that pre-combat and attacked with it then, because it's got haste.
Oh, no kidding. Well, there you go.
But, it still would have been wasted mana either way. I think it was probably correct to put it down. Ooh, Aria is another great sack outlet.
Oof.
This is one of the other decks we might have tried to put together if you were really unhappy with everything you'd looked at.
So it feels like we could outrace these guys if we just started chucking Regisaurs in.
Yeah. It may be more efficient to play the 2 Crusaders, but you can't really attack with those very well right now, so maybe it's safe to play the Regisaur instead.
I mean, I know that, yeah, we do get... Actually, I think I can kind of live with that, because I feel like the opponent's deck's is sort of dropping out things relatively slowly. I think maybe we should be trying to go opposite to that and just try and bang out as much individual stuff as possible.
Yeah, just spend all of your mana as efficiently as you can.
Yeah, because this is going to give us a blistering amount of stuff, and also just reduce the game clock overall.
And you're getting more value out of that card draw because you've got Regisaurs to discard to. You should have hit them with the Crusader. Oh wait, yeah, no, you shouldn't have. I'm talking nonsense because they could have just killed it with the Aria.
So there we go. This is all very slow for them, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So
they tend to build up to 1 big turn, these decks. I'm not sure what Regisaur is doing here. I guess maybe they have some recursion creatures that they can discard and put back in their hand.
Okay, so...
Or even back into play.
I was kind of hoping they would have a lot less presence on the board at this point. Well, that gets us over the
Spawn
top.
looks nice.
It sure
Yeah.
does.
You're not casting anything else this turn, so this may as well be the Blood Crypt turn, huh?
Well, this is coming in for cheaper, isn't it? Because we've taken damage this turn. So
But
we've...
everything else costs 3 mana, and you can only
Fine.
possibly make 5 mana this turn.
Good point. Well, still might as well get it for a discount.
That's true.
And I guess get a...
Nope. Blood Crypt.
Oh, that's right. Good shout. The thing is, I'm just too poor to have Shocklands.
Yeah, aren't we all?
So, I could do silly nonsense with Crusaders to try and bust through some damage here.
They do have Menace.
Hmm.
I don't know whether it's correct to actually attack with them or not, if I'm perfectly honest with you. It's a little bit unclear. I'm not sure what the blocks would be. But you'll
All right.
definitely lose at least one of them's being eaten. I think they just kill all of them, to be honest with you. And then they're left with Regisaur and Arya.
Yeah, which I don't like at all.
This is a deck that could do with some removal, huh?
Yeah.
Actually, no, it's got the Giant and the Knight. The Adventure Knight.
Hmm.
So it has got 8 quite good removal spells.
So Spawn of Mayhem's going to be swinging for a fair chunk now.
Yes, you definitely couldn't afford to make any trades there because of the priest. You need to have your stuff around to be able to sacrifice.
Oh, that's true. Okay. Alright, we've got the Murderous Rider to potentially clear the way.
I don't know if you even kill the Regisaur if you kill like the Arya or the priest here. They might just kill you.
I mean, the priests, yeah. Both of them.
And then
really
you untap and you die to your Stormfists.
So do we swing with our Stormfists to get rid of them?
I think you do, and then you Murderous Rider at instant speed.
Okay.
May or may not be correct to attack with rubber. Probably not, though, because you do need some blockers.
Okay, let's just try the old swing with everything and hope for the best. Well, I think Fervent Champion is not going to do anything, so I might leave him behind.
I'd probably consider blocking with the spawn, but I'm not entirely certain.
Well, let's see
You
what
want
happens.
to kill them before you die.
Hey, Nuster J, how the deck's going? Well, I was initially kind of coming towards this particular deck, but we have run into a deck that's really just made a mess of us quite badly.
Stormfist Crusader has shown itself to be bad against other aggressive lists. And there might just be too many aggro lists running around. That doesn't matter. It's just going to die either way around.
So do we nail something out with the Murderous Rider here then?
I guess so. It's not super relevant because of the way that they blocked, but yeah, whenever you're ready, you murder something with it. You just didn't want to do it before that in case you got a free 2-for-1.
Yeah, I guess in this case it's going to die either way, so I guess...
Don't forget, Rider actually costs you 2 life as well.
Well, I can put it in... I think if I play it...
I think you might just have to play 2 Rotting Regisaurs, but that's probably still not suitable. I think you still just die.
Ah, jeez.
In fact, yeah, no, I think you just let this happen, and then you play the Rider as a lifelink creature, and you play the Regisaur as a blocker. And then if they swing at you, you can block and gain some life. But I think you're just going to get better out.
Yeah, this deck is kind of cool. It
is.
really reminds me of the black-white deck. Creatures with adventure die after being played from exile, they go to the graveyard. Yes, but not in Murderous Rider's case because it's got an exception to make sure you can't just have infinite removal spells.
Sadly. Yeah. Absolutely. Although there are other ways to do it. So there's actually an adventure creature where the adventure returns a creature to your hand. So that's one of the better ways to be doing it. We've got it in our mono Black Knights list, which has got quite a lot of ways of getting back adventure creatures or digging them out of the deck as well.
Wait, what? What happened there? I don't know.
I think you ran out of time.
It must have been because I certainly didn't try and end. Okay, well, I mean, we were going to get smashed, so we've at least run into something that's completely beat the hell out of us, which is worth something. Wait, do they have any way of killing us outside of this now? I mean, obviously they're going to kill us anyway, but oh, that's right. Yeah, okay, doesn't matter. Yeah, we just didn't have... I don't think we had really any answer about that against this kind of stuff at all.
I mean, you can get there if you draw Murderous Riders at the right time and hit the right targets with it. But,
well, they had a lot... The thing is, like, they've got a lot of different things that basically do the same stuff.
Yeah. I think your biggest issue really here is just that Stormfist Crusader is very bad against their list.
Yes. So... Exile serves as protection away, yes, so it means it's not accessible, also means it's not using up hand space either. So yeah, it's a pretty strongly protected mechanic, I think.
Essentially, yeah. There are things that can interact with Exile, but I don't think there's anything in this format that can do it. So, how are you feeling about this list now? Because you were very bullish about it going in, and now you're starting to see maybe it isn't always going to pair up nicely. Do you still feel that overall against the format, you think it's a good place to be?
Oh man, it's not enough data. But as I said, like, I think I'm glad to have seen that not work. Because now I know. Like, I can definitely see that happening a few times. Like, which makes you think that maybe it isn't the deck that needs to be there to get anywhere near a turtle.
That's where I like stuff like the Mono Black list is that it has the ability to play out from behind. Stuff like the aggro list is very good early on because people aren't prepared for it. But once people have stopped you just lose. You've got no way to play from behind.
Alright, well I really wanted to give this tree color a try. Again. Just for my own satisfaction.
Because you want it to be good.
I kind of do. And, like, that's worth something.
I should make a point, again, the deck is called Tricolor, in case this becomes the big deck and everyone loves it. This is my brew, and it's called Tricolor, because it's 3-coloured food.
Alright, so this isn't amazing.
It's alright. Yeah, no, it's actually really good. Turn 1,
no, actually, no,
Tomb and Ghost. Turn 2, Champion. Turn 3, Oko. Or even turn 2, Oko.
I forgot that we could actually play that. I'm so used to having the crappy version of Shocklands, which you have no choice on. I just don't see it.
So have a good read of Oko. Make sure you have an understanding of its abilities to decide whether that's what you're playing next turn and what you want to do with it if you do.
So I can create food tokens. I can turn things into 3/3s, which is, but I can do that to food as well. And his ulti is to exchange, swap one of the food. It's only like a one thing,
but it's very cheap, very achievable, repeatedly. I think Vampire of the Dying Moon is not an important threat. So you just want to sequence out making yourself as threatening as possible as fast as possible. I like playing the champion here, because then you can trail or Oko next turn to immediately make it a 3/3.
Yeah, I can live with it.
Should be called Trifle then if it's 3-color food. Well, yeah, okay. It's probably closer to the actual colors as well. Tricolor, I think, is usually the colors of the Italian flag.
Trifle,
red, white, and blue. I can't be right.
I think Trifle Core, just because I'm trying to make the name as awkward as possible.
I can't believe I missed Champion, man. And, right now it's not doing a lot because the Vampire can just block it. But if we just, he can't attack with the Vampire because then we can attack with Champion, right? If we make the champion a 4/4, we can just Oko the vampire into a 3/3, and then it's irrelevant.
Yes.
Treadhorde Invasion.
So do nothing.
Okay.
The deck.
Well, I find Dreadhorde Invasion either does nothing or wins the game. Very little in between.
Your opponent won't know what to expect if you register your deck as Trifle Core. I feel like that could easily be something that could lead to a entertaining Channel Fireball article.
Yeah.
Like, just because it's a fun name. And I love that we've all three of us have come together to put that name together. And I think that's wonderful. So we could start pooping out food. That seems pretty reasonable because they have not got enough damage to do anything.
Yeah, they can't pressure your Oko right now, so I think now's the time to sit and get him some activations.
Oh, that's right, we have to use the...
Yeah. It's a little bit clunky. You'd like to be spending 4 mana if you're activating that, but you're going to get food back immediately. Unless you decide now is the time to turn something into a elk. People have been talking up about playing Gilded Goose to cast Oko and then turn that into a 3/3. I don't think that's a good plan. But people are quite into it.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Then you don't attack because you don't want to trade it off. Because next turn it's big enough to deal with a 3/3, so you can just elk the vampire.
I do like an elk the zombie army if need be.
Yeah. Although I don't think that takes the counters off it, does it? No, I think it must exile the card.
We could try it out.
What does it say? Target artifact. No, it doesn't take the counters off of it, so it actually just makes it better.
That would actually be really bad.
Yeah, that would be bad. Let's not do that. So what do we have next turn? We have 3, 4, 5 mana. So you probably just cast Trail and Savvy Hunter. And then you probably then elk the vampire.
If he does this, then presumably I could just start... Oh, okay.
Maybe you elk the banner as well at some point.
Alright.
Elk all the things.
What the elk? These are forests? No.
No. So you want to play the Watery Grave untapped so you can then play everything.
Okay. So we can trail the crumbs here.
Mm-hmm. Annoyingly, you can't pay for it this turn if you're casting Savvy Hunter, but I think you should still do it. You have so many ways of making food right now that if the game goes long, which is where Trail of Crumbs matters, you will be sacrificing food still.
We're not going to use blue for anything, are we?
Nope. Oko's the only blue card in the deck. Savvy Hunter's the only black card in the deck.
I do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Keep in mind, you will have the food left if you plussed Oko to draw off Savvy Hunter, if you felt that was something you wanted to do. I think you probably just kill the vampire at this stage.
Kill the vampire?
Yeah, with
I'll turn it
Oko's
into a 3/3,
+1.
you sure?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
I'd much rather be facing a vanilla 3/3 than a 2/1 lifelink Death Touch, when all I have is creatures with stats.
I guess that makes sense.
Like, how do they pressure your Oko now? Eventually, their army will get there, but hopefully you'll have been doing some pretty powerful things by then anyway.
We keep our Woodland Champion up to be able to deny the vampire.
I think so, yeah.
So the big problem we've got now is the zombie army. We don't have a direct answer for it. So I guess we could...
keep
power
in mind
3 or less.
it's slowly killing them. You know, so even if you have to make some trades with it occasionally, that's okay. I wouldn't be against trading Hunter here, honestly.
Yeah. It certainly would put them... Okay, well, never mind.
Bearing in mind it would make a food in the process. So your cabin's not going to come into play on tap, so it doesn't matter too much on sequencing, but generally you want to play your champion before you play your cabin.
Alright, let's get into the habit of doing that.
You can theoretically make 6 mana right now, by the way, with the castle and the goose, so if you draw the 6-drop, you can just go for it next turn. Though I guess you'll have the cabin in play anyway.
Okay, we could start pooping out food with the goose as well.
Yeah, you can keep going with the Oko, make your champions really huge fast, or you could start killing his banners by turning them into 3/3s that are just smaller than your things. You can start sacking food and drawing cards. So, like, you could sack both the food to the hunter and then pay 2 mana, and so you'd be drawing 3 cards. You've got a lot of options. They're all instant speed.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know, Nossi J, what do you reckon of this deck? I need as many eyes on it as possible, because I'm sort of semi-tempted to go with it just because it's kind of neat. But it's so hard to know what it's going to do against a deck that's actually doing anything, because it's obviously not one of those.
I mean, what's important is, does it beat a Dirtly deck? You know?
I suppose, yeah, that's true.
Is its plan strong enough to beat their plan?
Can we?
That's unfortunate. I think you're going to be sacrificing your goose in a second.
Okay.
Which means you're probably going to make the play where you activate Savvy Hunter, so you can sack that as well.
Yeah.
They didn't minus her? That's weird. I guess they're going to go to combat first, so you have fewer options of what you can sack. I think you just kill their stuff, though, right? Put the champion in front of the 5/3, put the 5/5 in front of the 3/3. Just kill their entire board. It means that you're left with just the 5/5 after all this. Well, you don't want to use the hunter yet, because... Oh, actually, you get food token. No, you're totally right. Go for that. That's a good call. You are absolutely right. I was absolutely wrong. Yeah, that looks great. This is a brain dead move, because they know that they're going to sack those 2 creatures post combat anyway. So they're like, oh, just swing in for value. You should have sacked to the hunter though, to draw 3.
Okay. Again, like, yeah, not so. Piers loves doing this, where he will like keep an important piece of information and adjust until after.
I mean, I had told you it 3 times already. I just wasn't telling you at the precise moment you needed to do it.
Yeah,
but the draw 3 would have been good there.
Yes, it would have been.
You do have a bigger, scarier board instead, which might actually even be better. You might have the kill next turn. Oh, you don't, because you're starting to sack the smaller champion. But yeah, activating the goose multiple times to pump multiple champions could be really busted.
So, well, we're gonna get our big boy.
Yes, I think that's sensible. You probably just pay mana to draw cards off of it, right? So you pay 3 to cast Giant Opportunity, that then sacks 2 food, and then you can pay 1 mana per food to draw a card. Because food is totally not broken.
I feel like I'm having an aneurysm. I've got no idea what you're talking about.
Wait, stop, decline, cancel. Never mind.
What?
You should have been activating the castle to get huge amounts of mana.
Okay, again, this is information that would have been better earlier.
Well, it didn't occur to me until then.
Alright, so...
Choose what you're doing with your Oko now, because that might affect combat.
They're going to get a creature... I can't get rid of the enchantment. I could get rid of these, but I'm not really that bothered by it.
You could steal them with his minus. It's not actually helping your creatures, though, so it's probably not relevant.
Okay, well, we durdled too long on that. I didn't do anything at all. Great. So I'm gonna, yeah, I'm just gonna stop listening to you as much because I'm just ending up doing nothing. All right, well that was really silly. I think that's gonna happen though. So I'm glad we've had that experience.
But take a step back from that and say that you had navigated that turn successfully, dealt 10 damage, drawn 2 cards, and made a 7/7. And had mana over to cast things and activated the Oko. How are you feeling about that turn?
Okay, yeah. So I think what it was is I wasn't really comprehending everything that was going on, and that's problematic because I've completely forgotten Trailer Crumbs was the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was like, what are you talking about? As it is, I think we're going to get smashed in now.
If in doubt, it's generally better just to start executing the bits that you definitely know are correct, and then the other bits will become self-apparent.
Okay, well, we can grab that guy with... Okay.
Yeah, you even have some swamps.
What does that matter?
Oh, I thought you were talking about the Dread Presence, sorry.
No,
You're
the
talking about
Death
vampire.
Touch guy who was big, who was stopping us from attacking.
So remember, you can sack your food for 3 mana to gain 3 life and draw a card.
Wait, to get 3 mana? How am I getting 3 mana out of it?
Don't worry about that. It will cost you 3 mana. You can sack a food and draw a card and gain 3 life.
How? There's no point telling me about this.
Decide if you want to do it. We've just had the conversation. It's the enchantment I can't remember the name of that you just said I forgot that existed and was an option. If you sack a food for any reason, you can draw a card.
Feels like you're messing with
I think you can activate castles to activate castles. So if you activate all of your castles, you'll generate tons of mana.
Okay, let's do it. But this gets me life, it doesn't get me mana.
No. At no point have I said it gets you mana, it draws you cards and gains you life. That is probably something you want to do rather than just play land.
Okay, I'm so confused.
Now click on food quickly, and then and then agree to pay 1.
I
Didn't
got
give you
no
the option.
freaking idea what's going on anymore. I'm so confused. I feel like
the trail, anytime you sacrifice a food, lets you pay 1 to draw a card.
Yes, I've got that part. The part where I was confused about was the... I feel like there was a missing step somewhere in there, which was...
You just sack a land and then pay the 1.
Sack a
I don't
land?
know why it didn't give you the sack a food and then pay the 1. I don't know why it didn't give you an option to do that. But if you sack a land for sack a food for any reason, you can pay 1 to draw a card with trial.
Okay, well, let's try and do that next turn then. If I can get that done, then I'll feel like I'm a on me.
Double check what the text says while we're waiting for him to get through his turn.
If you sacrifice food, you may pay 1. Look at the top 2 cards and get one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it also shows you the food at the same time, which has the ability to sack, get 3 life.
So we're getting mana from our castle stuff to be able to... Let's do that.
Because that was the only way to do that and still be able to cast whatever you drew.
Okay, let's get 1,000,000 cards. So we've now got lots of stuff. Wait,
and we might have just found a bug, because it didn't seem like it gave you the option, but I think that was because it just took too long. So you just click the 6 over your portrait.
Spend only on creatures.
That's where we messed up. All right, hit Z. Sorry, hit cancel and then Z. Just Z twice. That should untap your mana. There we go. So yeah, you just want to click on the artifact to sack it. Don't worry about where the mana comes from. Yeah, I had forgotten it only let you cast creatures. You really need to turn on auto pay, man. You can always manually click the land when it's going to cause you a problem.
Alright.
Seems reasonable. 2 mana, draw a card. Get a food.
Okay. I'm a little bit on board with it. Right, let's trade off 2 life for 3 life.
Yeah. That's an option.
Okay.
I would steal something. No, you can't steal something. I would probably kill their Dread Presence with Oko, because it's going to draw them a ton of cards. And they're going to kill your Oko this turn anyway.
Can't do it. Oh wait, no, I can do it.
Yep.
Okay, we're trying to claw away from this. So, partially the problem was you were telling me to do something that wasn't possible, and a lot, but probably honestly the larger part of that was when I was just completely thrown off to the point of just being like, what?
Think you're giving yourself entirely too much mental load by not having auto tapping. The edge cases where it is relevant will cost you less than it's currently costing you by taking up so much of your time in the turn and sort of mental headspace. And you can always just click on the land manually to make the mana before you cast the thing.
I didn't do that. That wasn't something I did intentionally. It was just the way it was. Okay, so I guess they just nailed our... Yeah, they nailed out our guy.
Yeah. Unfortunately. Legion's End is something that I'm wondering about for the mono blacklist instead of the sort of slightly redundant 3-drop. It wouldn't hurt to have another removal spell, it's just that there aren't any very exciting ones unless Legion's End happens to be very good against the metagame, in which case it's strong enough to be played.
I have seen people messing around with it, so...
It seems reasonable. So, how much do you think the confusion there is that the deck just doesn't click for the way you think about how to play? Because, like, food is weird. How much do you think it is because it's at the end of a very long stream in the evening whilst I'm trying to tell you to do stuff?
It's... Oh, there you go, that's nice.
Nice.
Yeah, that's handy. It's a little hard to say. I'm kind of... I really want to get the experience of... there you go. Fairy Pooper.
Nice.
It's tough. Like, I just don't know what to make of it, really. It feels like something where there's a lot of potential there for just having what happened there, which is just having them just kill all of your... like the creatures you're building with just generic removal spells.
You did miss lots and lots of card draw, though. I think that card draw would have offset their single point removal spells.
I think you're probably right. Especially if we got towards that Troll King. I think it's something that I would be prepared to give a try to. But I might actually resort to using it outside of Magic the Gathering Arena's like Magic Simulators to try and get more time with it.
Yeah. I mean, that deck builder we were using has a hand simulator where you can sort of draw the additional cards and sort of play it out in a Goldfish Bowl sort of way. As you say, there are other options available. I was impressed with how good the champion was, actually. I was so frustrated with myself that I completely blanked on including it the first time I built the list until I saw that guy doing it and we both went, why's he got this in the list? Like, that was a 2-mana 10/10. You know?
It felt like, certainly in that game, it was, like, crazy good.
It just triggers so... Because we're just spewing food out of every card in the deck. It just triggers so often, so quickly, that it gets really, really big, really fast. And, you know, because it's not the only big thing in the deck, it's not like they can go, oh, well, I just cast my one murder at it and then that's over. You've still got your giant opportunities, you've still got your feasting troll kings as other big things. So they need to have multiple ways of killing big things.
Yeah. Well, Noster J seems to be kind of, like, somewhat on board with it. Like, yeah, I mean, that whole game was completely thrown off by effectively skipping a turn.
Yeah, that's just really unfortunate that, like, I don't think their signaling is clear enough on, like, you have 5 seconds, do something right now or you lose your turn.
Yeah.
You know, I think it just goes and you don't even realise it's happened.
Yeah, I've definitely been caught out by that before. The tournament is particularly harsh because it's not like you play 12 games and then you see how many you won. It's you play 12 games, you play up to 12 games, but you lose twice. Even if you could have potentially gone, like, 8-4, you don't get that. You just get wherever you got knocked out for the second time, which is really incredibly harsh.
That's true. I mean, the prizes are quite good all the way up, though. So for 0 or 1 wins, you get a rare or better from Throne of Eldraine. There's also a cosmetic you get for just competing. 2 to 3, you get 2 rares. So, like, even if you just sort of completely roll the dice, you're going to get 2 rares out of the free event, you know? In terms of, like, getting to play with all of the cards in Standard, we'd like to get more out of it, but the rewards are really generous. And, you know, once you get up to 9 wins, you're getting 5 rares and a sealed entry. So you're getting 6 boosters and the ability to win gems and more boosters. In fact, no, it's 9 boosters. You get the 6 you open, and you get 3 boosters no matter how many wins you get in sealed, plus some gems. And then 11 and 12 are just absurd. So I think the rewards are balanced against that. But I think it will be a little bit crushing a lot of the time for people who are like, well, I drew badly in 2 games, and that was my entire experience.
I think we could do it as a play 1 with the red-black. And just see how far we get with that. And then off a loss, change to this deck. If the opponents seem like they would struggle against it.
That's something to keep in mind, yeah. If you're finding that the meta is really hostile to one list or the other, it's great that you've got a number of lists that you can draw from. Yeah, I think the question is, like, there are a lot of complex decisions to be made in this list. It is not as straightforward as like the red-black aggro deck is. So you sort of need to be confident with how the mechanics work and what they do and you know what the sequencing should be to get things to work optimally. I think the odds of playing this for anybody to a high standard in that event is far lower than something like the red-black aggro list. The payoff might be worth it.
Is there currently existing a program which we could use to practice this deck against other stuff in?
Not really, no.
Well, I guess we'll just have to talk about it during the course of the week. So, it's Saturday, probably around, like, I guess maybe about I don't know when you can do it on Saturday.
For the event next week.
Yes,
I should be available for that. Yeah.
So that's going to be. I think my computer's just having a bit of a struggle. So that's going to be on Saturday, the 5th, and I guess time-wise, probably it would have to be like morning-ish.
Yeah, I mean it launches at 3 a.m. local time, so any time in the morning is going to be fine from that perspective.
Okay. Is there a time just for people who are watching now to kind of like to know when to come back or when to be around for? Is there a time you think you would definitely be able to do it for?
I mean, I think you're more restricted on the Saturday than I am.
I'm restricted on when it ends, not really when it starts.
Yeah. How long do you think you need?
I honestly don't know. I mean, it's taken us we started at approximately 9, it's now 1 in the morning, so it took us 4 hours to get through 12 games there. So I guess that's the reason. Like, we did take longer because we were going through, and there's a very good chance we won't get to all 12 games.
We might do all 13.
Extra one?
Well, if you lose one game and go to 12 wins.
Oh, okay.
That's the maximum number.
So I think probably would say if we go for... I'm going to start work at 5. So I could theoretically do like a midday thing and probably be totally fine with it. Would that work for you?
Yeah. Would you want to start a little earlier, like 11, so you're not scrambling so much?
Sure.
At the other end of it.
Okay, so 11 o'clock UK time on the 5th of October. Back here in the same place, same channel. Hopefully same people, assuming nothing surprising happens. In which case...
Possibly same decks.
Who knows? But yeah, Noster J, everyone else who's been watching, thank you guys so much for dropping by. Peers, of course, your wisdom and decks, in this case, have been extremely useful. Like, don't know what the result will be. I guess it's not the end of the world if it turns out badly, but I'd like to get a decent run through, and at least this has given a reason to be very engaged with the upcoming decks, which I think is probably the idea.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you know, you can't kind of fail to come out of it with something. worth having entered for. So anybody out there who's like, oh, I don't know if I'll have the right list, I would strongly encourage you, even if you've just got your pet deck, to enter and play through it. Even if you get literally 0 wins, the reward is there, and it's a free event to take part in. But yeah, if you want to take the time to test out or brew up some meta decks, there's some real rewards to get if you go well in it.
All right, I think that's going to be it for us today. This went a lot longer than I was expecting it to be. But Piers, thank you for persevering through it. If any of you guys haven't already, please do give Piers a follow across at twitch.tv/Piers8, and probably other places your Piers8 as well, but I'm guessing that's the main thing.
Yes. Also, if you do have a look on there, on my videos from the Monday stream, you'll see Pete and I brewing many of the decks that we played tonight. Obviously, not all of them, but at least 3 or 4 of them we brewed on Monday, so you can see the process we went through of trying to analyze this new format together.
Yeah, there you go. That's a comprehensive package. All right, I'm going to go to sleep. I assume Piers will as well.
Yes.
Just remember, guys, cats, foxes, they're the same thing.
Thank you for having me for the stream. Good night, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend.
Ooh.